At the underground black market of Qingqing, people are trying to sell some not very legal stuff. But to one particular seller, the buyer says that he has already sold a lot of his essential body parts in the past 6 months. At this rate, he won't last more than a couple of days. But the seller says it is fine because, to save his seriously ill sister, he is willing to do anything. And since he is so determined, the boss also decides to just go ahead and take all of it. After the operation, the guy is barely able to walk, but when he has made sure that no one is following him, he quickly begins his regeneration. Now he has 30,000 yuan left, the money he had before. He feels like it should be enough to cover the cost of the job change ceremony. There is no sick sister, nor is there any terminally ill mother. People should just stop believing in such made-up lies. His name is Yang Lin, and he is a transmigrator, a typical pure orphan who has no such thing as a sick sister in this world. But still, it was really hard for him to survive here until he discovered his special ability. No matter how badly his body is injured, he can heal back to normal within minutes, and missing organs or limbs can regenerate. He used his regenerative ability to sell off his own body parts, which allowed him to save up 100,000 yuan just to pay for the expensive job change ceremony, because only by undergoing the job change ceremony and awakening his ability can he grow stronger. That is the only way he can survive in this incredibly dangerous world and protect the people who matter to him. And today is the day of his job change ceremony. The others immediately point out that Yang is from a really poor family, so why is he attending the job change ceremony? He immediately approaches teacher Wang and tells her that in order to participate, he had no choice but to take out a job change loan. However, once again, the others point out that if he ends up with a useless job, then he will be spending the rest of his life just working to pay off that debt. But since the loan has already been taken, the teacher decides to give it her all and asks Yang to hurry and go in, because the ceremony is about to begin. A lot of people are gathered here for the ceremony. Looking at Matt Damon from Class 5, they also talk about how his family isn't well off either, so they are a bit worried. After having paid so many fees, which practically made their hearts bleed, if someone poor like him ends up with a life skill job, then that would be the end of it all. Once Matt Damon is on the stage, he is told to put his hand on the platform and relax by the principal. Once he does that, he gets an A-rank poultry breeder skill, which is a life skill job. The others are also anxiously watching all this, commenting on how now he will be spending his life with chickens and ducks. The principal asks Matt Damon not to be discouraged just because it is a life skill job. Only useless people have useless jobs. Then comes a girl, Keira Knightley, for whom the audience starts going crazy. When she puts her hand on the platform, a huge phoenix-like bird appears in a fiery display of power. The principal is himself shocked, saying that this is an SSS rank fire mage. He is happy that finally, Qingqing Academy can hold its head high again. The ones in the audience are also shocked, especially because now many of them are doomed to not even be worthy of admiring her from afar. Yang also thinks about how even an SSS rank fire mage can't stand against 1,000. Which means this girl has really got some luck. The principal tells Keira that she has awakened an SSS rank class. This is a big deal for the school, so they will have to discuss her training plan going forward. Next, it is time for Yang Lin. Others immediately start commenting on how he is that scholarship student and wonder why he is here. The others tell them that he took out a job change loan. As Yang passes Keira, he thinks about how he has decided not to remain just a background character for that little girl. Once his hand is placed on the platform, he reflects that finally, the moment has come. It's not just about surviving in this world, it's about defying fate and changing destiny. Everything depends on the next step. Suddenly, a blue dragon aura rises, completely engulfing Yang and shocking everyone. The principal cannot believe that another anomaly has appeared, one after another. Keira also wonders if Yang Lin is going to get an SSS level job. The others are stunned, thinking about how insanely lucky this guy must be. A poor student who took out a loan to change jobs and ended up with an SSS level class. It's unbelievable. The principal announces that Yang Lin has gotten a combat job, an SSS level forbidden mage. He proudly proclaims that today, Qingqing Academy takes pride in him and the achievements he will accomplish in the future. But then, suddenly, he remembers Yang actually got a forbidden mage. The principal's expression instantly shifts into terror as he realizes the truth. Yang Lin has awakened as an SSS level curse mage. Everyone immediately bursts into laughter, completely losing it at the revelation. They've all heard the stories. No forbidden mage has ever lived past 25. It's a class where one must consume their own life force to cast spells. Due to their short lifespan, forbidden mages are considered a trash job. Yang Lin just took out a job change loan, and now he's gonna die young. It's too tragic for them to handle, so they keep laughing at his immense misfortune. They fully believe Yang is done for. Many were already thinking that a poor student like him should never have tried to change jobs in the first place. Even Keira Knightley, as she's leaving, considers it a pity. Yang Lin clearly hears all the laughter and the mockery from the audience, people talking about how he basically traded his life for skills. Many joke that this job suits him perfectly. Some call him a short-lived ghost. Others say he fell from heaven to hell in an instant. Still more mock him for trying to change his destiny, laughing so hard they claim it might kill them. A poor student like him was always destined for a worthless life, someone says. The most useless SSS rank ever. The principal still considers Yang a good kid, but sadly, even he has to admit a forbidden mage is not something to be proud of. Yang then asks the principal if it's really true that forbidden mages can't live past 25. The principal tries to comfort him, saying, "Don't be too pessimistic. As the saying goes, it's up to the individual. Better to burn brightly for a short time than to live a life of mediocrity." Yang thanks the principal for comforting him and says that even if he only lives to be 25, he will burn brightly and bring glory to the academy. The principal then asks Yang to follow him, so they can begin preparing a special training plan for him and Keira Knightley. Yang thanks the principal once again, but in his mind, he is the one laughing. After all, forbidden mages may have short lives, but that has nothing to do with his immortal body. Today has been very exhausting for Yang, so he decides to hurry home and get some good sleep. But just then, Keira Knightley approaches him and asks him to join her team, especially because the more a forbidden mage fights, the faster they die. She makes it clear that she's not being malicious. She just doesn't want him to die too quickly, since they are classmates. Yang appreciates the concern, but for now, he simply declines. As Keira leaves, she calls it a waste of good advice on a stubborn ghost and tells Yang to just do whatever he wants. Yang is left speechless. There's nothing he can say to that. Still, he finds the whole situation pretty strange. Then, a group of punks blocks his path. They instantly recognize him as the SSS level job holder, Yang Lin. Everyone in the school knows that Keira Knightley is part of the G family, so they don't like the idea of someone like Yang, who got to the top just by landing a forbidden mage job, getting close to her. Yang thinks to himself how troublesome women can be. He never expected Keira Knightley to stir up so much trouble with just 2 sentences. He tells the punks that he just wants to go home and nothing else. But they laugh and mock him, saying his home must be some tiny 10-square-meter shack. Since Yang Lin now holds an SSS level job, one of the punks demands that Yang call him dad, promising to arrange a security job for him at the G group afterward. They laugh more, joking that if he gets a security job at the G group, he should start bowing down to G Shane. One of them says that from tomorrow, Yang can start working there, and once he has some money, he can even buy incense for his dead family from the orphanage. They all laugh hysterically at the idea of an orphan having a family. They then order him to bow down quickly, while one of them comments that his family must not have been qualified. That's why they're all dead now. Unaware of the effect their words are having, they keep taunting him, while Yang grows increasingly furious. He wants to burn everything down. Opening his eyes, staring in fury, Yang raises his hand and tells them, "This is all what you made me do." The others immediately panic. They didn't think Yang would actually cast a forbidden spell. That would be like throwing his life away. But Yang doesn't care. He cannot tolerate these punks talking badly about his dead family. They all leap back as he casts the spell. Terrified, they exclaim that Yang has gone crazy. What reason was there to use a forbidden spell? Yang just calls out to them, telling them to come back so he can do it again. But they all turn and run. To them, Yang has clearly lost it. He doesn't care about his life anymore, and they don't want to deal with someone who's gone mad. Even Yang himself didn't expect them to be such a joke. One spell, and they all ran off in fear. But just using that one spell has caused serious damage to Yang's body. He can feel it all. From a high spot nearby, Keira Knightley watches the scene unfold and comments to herself about how Yang is willing to risk his life over a few insults. Someone like that, even with an SSS level job, will never last long. Now, she believes Yang Lin isn't even worthy of standing next to her. Back at his home, Yang finally feels at peace. Looking at his system window, he realizes that by sacrificing different parts of his body, he can summon different kinds of magic attacks. For example, sacrificing a bladder can summon the water in thunder, and sacrificing a heart can summon the life-ending purple thunder. If he wants to summon the ultimate chaos divine thunder, it would basically mean signing his own death warrant. Suddenly, his head starts to hurt, a side effect of his body regeneration acting up. Feeling really tired, Yang lays down and goes to sleep. Shane, on the other hand, talks with someone about getting revenge. He wants Yang taken down and immediately orders someone to be sent after him. However, the person in front of him reminds Shane of what his father taught him. Killing an SSS-level forbidden mage is very risky and doesn't benefit them at all. The person explains that Yang, being emotional enough to risk his life by using a forbidden spell over a few insults, is clearly unstable. On top of that, he's still just a poor student, while the G family has more than enough resources. He advises Shane to learn how to use his greatest advantage, wealth and influence, to exploit his enemy's weakest points. The next day at Qingqing Academy, a poster warmly welcomes all teachers and students from various schools to participate in the upcoming trial exam. Yang, still feeling a bit sleepy, arrives at school. Others immediately take notice of him, especially because rumors have spread about him becoming a forbidden mage and even teaching Shane from the G family a lesson. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Yang. It's Shane. He greets Yang with a cheerful good morning and offers him breakfast, saying it's a friendly gesture since Yang probably hasn't eaten yet. Yang, however, suspects Shane is trying to poison him because he couldn't beat him yesterday. But Shane insists that he would never poison him. Instead, he brought breakfast to thank him. Yang can't think of any reason Shane would want to thank him for anything. Shane explains that Yang's appearance hit him like a thunderbolt. It made him realize he had been living his life in a daze. Still suspicious, Yang asks him to get to the point. What does he actually want? Shane suddenly gets on his knees and says he wants to recognize Yang as his big brother. Stunned, Yang asks if Shane got hit too hard yesterday or something. But Shane insists he's serious. After Yang beat him up, he thought long and hard and came to the conclusion that if he wants to become better, he needs a proper role model. Yang, playing along, says that if that's the case, Shane should also pay tuition. Shane immediately agrees. Then he asks his big brother for his card number so he can transfer the money right away. Yang gives him the number and tells him to transfer 2 million as his first tuition fee. Shane is clearly shocked by the amount, so Yang asks if it's too expensive. But Shane quickly responds that it's not. He'll have his father send the money right away. Just then, it's announced that the portal to the beginner's dungeon is now open. The test is about to begin, and it's hoped that all candidates from various schools achieve great results. All the candidates gather, hopeful for victory. Their teachers take note of the two standing at the front and ask the principal of Qingqing Academy if those are the students with SSS level jobs. They're clearly standing out, but that annoys the principal. He had told them to keep a low profile. Just getting an SSS level job should have been enough, but these kids can't help showing off. They really don't listen. Still, he laughs. Deep down, he's proud. He's just pretending to be annoyed to make the other schools jealous. As the visitors take their leave, they tell the principal not to get too cocky. Then, the announcement goes out. All candidates may begin entering the dungeon. Keira Knightley once again offers to team up with Yang, but once again, he politely declines, saying he's fine on his own. Keira can't believe his level of arrogance, but she figures maybe he just wants to die early, and if that's the case, no one can stop him. Yang enters the portal swiftly. After arriving, he looks around and realizes he's alone. He wonders if it was some kind of random teleportation. Then suddenly, a roaring animal appears. One that Yang just considers a little cat. Still, it seems perfect to test his skills on. With just one strike, he takes down the level 1 leopard cat, which rewards him with 10 XP. Getting only 10 XP after such a big setup is a bit disappointing. It makes him wonder if it was really worth losing one of his kidneys. If he's gonna get just 10 XP per kill, then he'll need to take down hundreds of these just to reach level 2. This is gonna be way too slow, which means he'll need to come up with a better plan. A few moments later, a lot of roaring animals are chasing Yang, who is quite excited, even though he's running away from them for now. This wave should give him quite a bit of experience, so he immediately stops and decides to test out his newly mastered skills on them. The forbidden spell he uses this time is Burning Reincarnation, which engulfs him and the entire area in an enormous aura. Even Yang feels the spell is terrifying. His power, agility, and spirit are all double boosted. In the state of burning reincarnation, even a level 10 monster would probably struggle to withstand the force of his world-ending thunder. With swift, continuous strikes across the wave, he keeps taking down more and more monsters. They don't even realize they've been hit. He's so fast that he wipes out entire waves in a single blow. However, the toll on his body is extreme. After just 5 minutes, he's already feeling it. Not wanting to expose his immortal body, he decides to end burning reincarnation after about 1 minute to avoid revealing too much. He then switches to immortal reverse life, sacrificing his hand. Placing his other hand on the ground, he creates a magical circle from which electricity begins pouring out. This is World-Ender Extreme Thunder. Everything around him is annihilated. Grey wolves, 30 XP. Level 5 two-headed snakes, 50 XP. Level 6 iron scorpions, 60 XP. Level 6 centaurs, 60 XP, and even level 2 killer bees, barely 20 XP. But the sheer number of monsters is so high that suddenly, his system notifies him of a level increase. This wave turns out to be amazing for Yang. He levels up directly to level 3, and unlocks a new forbidden spell, Infernal Fire, Burnt Sky. Later, Keira Knightley also passes through the same area. She's shocked by what she sees. So many monsters turned into charcoal. She can't think of anything that could have caused something like this. Then she notices a fire still burning nearby. She immediately recognizes it as Infernal Fire, but the strange thing is, there are no other fire element jobs in all of Xinjiang except hers. She has no idea how such a powerful fire element fluctuation could appear. After thinking it over for a bit, she notices a huge column of smoke in the distance. It looks man-made. The fire elemental fluctuation is so strong it might even surpass her own. That can only mean one thing. Xinjiang is a land of hidden talents. Keira Knightley swears that she will find out who caused this. A little further ahead, Yang is sitting by a campfire, roasting a lot of delicious meat. He's enjoying the meat of a three-eyed magic pig. It's simply too tasty. He used up too much energy earlier and needs to refuel. The meat is absolutely scrumptious. After eating his fill, Yang decides to head out to a more distant area to grind more monsters. But suddenly, a voice calls out from behind, asking what he's doing here. It's Keira Knightley. Running into her was not something Yang wanted. This is troublesome. He cannot let her discover his secret. Yang tells her he was just roasting something to eat. Keira once again reminds him that she already told him the forbidden mage job is not suited for solo grinding. Then she passes him, saying it's too late for regrets now, and there's no point in following her. She's too busy to team up, she has things to do, so she just wants him to stay away. But Yang hadn't been following her. She was the one following him. Still, Yang says nothing except a simple, okay. Even so, he doesn't understand the logic behind what she's saying. He wonders if this woman is missing a few screws in her head. Then again, Keira Knightley stops and says she needs to ask Yang something. She asks if he has seen anyone else pass by this way. She also mentions that the person is really powerful, specializes in fire elemental magic, and is highly likely to be the one controlling infernal fire. Yang immediately feigns ignorance, acting like he has no idea what infernal fire is. However, he says that he did see someone, a very handsome man who went in a certain direction. He even points that way. He does this because he simply cannot let this annoying woman cling to him. It looks like he can't even use Infernal Fire's forbidden spell anymore without drawing attention. As Keira Knightley starts following the direction he pointed, she complains that it's all Yang's fault. Otherwise, she could have definitely caught up with the powerful person using Infernal Fire. But then suddenly, after hearing a noise, Keira looks up and sees a giant monster charging straight toward her. It's an 8th level dragon blood beast. Keira immediately dodges, but she can't understand why or how such a high-level monster is in this beginner's dungeon. Most people would stand no chance against it, especially someone like Yang. She starts wondering where he might be now, assuming that the coward must have run far away already. Still, she quickly launches a barrage of fireballs at the monster. However, the beast effortlessly slaps the magic away, putting Keira in serious trouble. She keeps throwing fire, determined to fight the monster to the end. But no matter how many fireballs she hurls, the monster keeps blocking them, and even reflects several back at her, which completely shocks her. After taking a direct hit, she's knocked to the ground. The monster begins approaching her. She has to admit she was too arrogant. In this supposedly beginner-level dungeon, an 8th level dragon blood beast is unbeatable for anyone. She's exhausted, lying on the ground, feeling that it's too embarrassing to die here like this. But then, suddenly, a voice shouts, "Have some manners." The monster is instantly engulfed in flames. Keira recognizes it, Infernal Fire, and watches in amazement as the spell takes down the 8th level dragon blood beast in an instant. She quickly looks up to see the person who saved her. She doesn't recognize him, so she simply thanks the classmate and asks for his name. We already know it's Yang, but he appears in disguise so his identity can remain hidden. He tells her his name is Ling Yang. It's a bit confusing, but maybe he just wants her to think he's a different person. Same name, just reversed. Hearing this name, Keira immediately asks him which school he's from. Since he saved her, she wants to thank him properly. But Yang wants no thanks from this dumb woman, so he just tells her there's no need. He was just passing by. Keira calls out to him, asking him to please wait. Yang tells her not to follow him because the demonic beasts up ahead are too strong. It's not a place someone like Keira should enter. He also suggests she change her clothes first. She immediately understands why he said that and feels a bit embarrassed. Still, she calls out to Yang, saying that she will eventually catch up to him and one day stand by his side again. Then she quickly leaves the area, jumping from tree to tree Naruto style. After getting quite far, Yang stops. He now feels confident that she's no longer following him. That stupid woman is serious trouble. She wasted a lot of his time, and now he needs to level up faster. Then, a system notification pops up. He checks it and sees a new forbidden spell. It requires the sacrifice of 2 years of his lifespan, but in return, it grants immunity to 1 lethal attack. Being a forbidden spellcaster is truly a short-lived profession. Every spell costs a portion of the user's lifespan, but for Yang, this spell is a godsend. With it, he can survive even a fatal strike, like being stabbed through the heart from behind. On top of that, if he ever needs to cast a forbidden spell that sacrifices his heart or even his head, he'll be immune to the damage. This is absolutely amazing. Now he can grind and farm monsters freely. No one can stop him from leveling up. So insane, he even starts laughing like a madman. 3 days later, it's the last day of the test. The trial will end soon. Spectators in the audience talk among themselves, saying they'd be satisfied if their children can level up to level 8. The principals of the various academies gather and discuss how, even though one school has 2 SSS class students, it won't mean much if their levels aren't high enough. Sometimes, level matters more than class. The only way to show off in front of Qingcheng is to break the highest recorded level in the secret realm, level 11, a record that still hasn't been broken. They wonder if this year, that record might finally be surpassed. The principal of Qingcheng Academy remains confident. He believes his students can do it. Suddenly, another figure arrives and notices how much fun the principals seem to be having. He asks if he can join in too. His name is Leon. The principals greet him and say they've long heard of him. Leon is the city's top-tier astrologer, and it's an honor to host him. But Leon just laughs and says they're being too flattering. He's only here to see his daughter, Nini. He asks the principal if Nini has been causing any trouble. The principal remarks on how much Mr. Leon cares about his daughter, then admits that Nini is the pride of the city academy. Suddenly, they notice someone coming out of the portal. But wait, the time limit isn't over yet. Why would someone exit early? Maybe they're injured? The next moment, Kira Knightley emerges. She sees her father and wonders why he's here. Leon immediately asks her what level she reached, while the principal questions why she's coming out before the time is up. Nini, Kira, then reveals that she's already reached level 12, which is why she came out early. Everyone is stunned. Such a high level? The record has been broken. Just as the principal had hoped, a fire element mage has broken the previous level record with ease. He even starts laughing with pride. Leon, however, remarks that his daughter is really stubborn. If she had waited until the time was up, she might have even reached level 13. But Kira says it was too boring inside. It took forever just to find a level 10 demonic beast, and even then, the experience gained from defeating it was disappointingly low. However, inwardly, she admits the real reason she came out early, to find Yang. She doesn't want to let him escape her this time. Meanwhile, inside the portal, surrounded by piles of charcoal that used to be monsters, Yang suddenly sneezes. Strange. This place isn't cold, so why is he sneezing? He thinks, maybe someone's talking bad about me. The level 10 zone has been completely cleared of demonic beasts. Seems Yang took them down too quickly. Now, to keep grinding, he'll have to broaden his search range. To do that, he decides to try out a newly learned forbidden spell known as Sudden Dance. This forbidden spell requires the caster to sacrifice an organ, based on its importance, to gain a massive agility boost. The maximum effect grants agility 10 times greater than the user's original, and the duration is 1 hour. Yang decides to sacrifice a kidney, instantly gaining 10x agility. Even a level 50 assassin wouldn't have such terrifying speed. He's thrilled. With this new speed, he begins dashing across the terrain like thunder, experimenting with his movement and scanning for targets. In an instant, he spots 3-headed cyclone mantises and decides to take them all for himself. To finish them quickly, he sacrifices his bladder and casts the forbidden spell world-destroying Raging Thunder, wiping them out in a flash. Back outside the portal, more students begin to emerge. Some are visibly relieved to be out. They nearly lost their lives inside. Many are crying, terrified by the experience. Kira Knightley waits near the portal, confused and irritated that Yang still hasn't come out. With only 5 minutes left in the test, everyone is told to return to their designated school zones as the trial is coming to an end. It looks like Kira Knightley will be this year's top-level achiever. The other principals can't help but admit that old Gao is extremely lucky. His academy got 2 SSS class students this year. Still, he wonders where the second one is. With only 3 minutes remaining, Kira starts thinking maybe she missed Yang somehow. But that seems impossible. She's been waiting the entire time. Then, someone steps out of the portal. His silhouette looks familiar, too familiar. Kira feels like it must be him. But when the figure steps forward, it turns out to be the Yang she doesn't particularly like, the one she now thinks of as a coward. He says casually that since the time is up, he came out. He asks if there's a problem, but Kira is extremely disappointed. She can't believe it turned out to be him. She tells him to not even speak to her and just leave her alone. Yang just thinks this girl is even crazier than before. It's not like I was dying to talk to you anyway, he mutters to himself. Then, Principal Gao walks up to Yang, noticing that he has finally exited the portal. What level are you at? The principal asks. Yang replies, level 16. Everyone within earshot immediately freezes in shock. Did they hear that right? Level 16? That's absolutely insane. It's nearly impossible. The previous highest recorded level in this rookie secret realm was only level 11. And this is just a beginner's test. How could someone reach level 16? But soon, it becomes absolutely clear to everyone that this guy is seriously at level 16. Leveling up from 1 to 16 requires a total of 12,000 experience points. The highest level demonic beast inside the rookie secret realm is level 10, and defeating one gives 100 XP. That means Yang took down 1,200 level 10 demonic beasts. This is something none of them can believe is even possible. However, Principal Gao just smiles and tells Yang that he did an incredible job and that Qingcheng Academy is proud of him. Even Leon comments on how impressive he is, but Kira immediately dismisses it, saying it's not that impressive. She reminds everyone that Yang is a forbidden spellcaster. If he keeps using forbidden spells without any consideration for the consequences, of course he would level up quickly. When the other principals hear he's a forbidden spellcaster, they also quickly understand how he managed to reach level 16. Now, everyone is murmuring about how crazy this guy must be, because using forbidden spells to level up inside a rookie secret realm isn't something anyone with common sense would do. Other forbidden spellcasters don't even live past the age of 25. At this rate, this guy might not even reach 20. To them, it's laughable, sacrificing his life in exchange for fame. It's idiotic behavior. However, one of the teachers speaks up and says they shouldn't mock him. He used his life just so they could admire him, so maybe they should let him enjoy that moment for a few days at least. The other principals now approach Gao and question why he allowed this to happen. One even wonders if Yang was forced to do this, suggesting that maybe the principal used him for the academy's fame. But Principal Gao shuts that down immediately. He firmly states that, as a teacher, he would never use his students' lives as a joke. Yang also speaks up, saying that no one forced him to do anything. He chose this path himself. He grew up in a poor family, always being looked down on. Now that he finally has the chance to rise, he won't back down. Even if he burns out at his brightest moment, he won't regret it. He wants everyone to know he can do it. Leon claps and praises Yang's words, saying they prove he has real ambition. No matter what anyone says, Yang is the highest level student inside this rookie secret realm. Without a doubt, he is number one. Leon hands Yang his card and introduces himself as Kira Knightley's father, saying that if Yang ever needs help in the future, he can contact him. However, Kira isn't happy about this. She insists no one should say Yang is the first just yet. She tells everyone to wait until another guy named Ling Yang comes out. His level won't be any lower than Yang's. This piques Leon's curiosity. He asks about this Ling Yang guy, but Principal Gao says he's never heard of the name. He wonders if this person is from another academy. The other academy representatives also say they've never heard of anyone by that name. Still, Kira remains adamant that Ling Yang is a real genius. Once he comes out, everything will be clear. Yang, meanwhile, can't believe how this crazy woman keeps creating more and more trouble. Because no matter how long they wait, that guy isn't coming out. He is Ling Yang. Yang simply tells everyone that he'll be heading home now. Leon wishes him a safe trip, and Principal Gao advises him to rest well. The formal test is coming up in 3 days, which Yang already knows. Soon, the time is up, and the test officially ends. Kira looks toward the portal and wonders, where is Ling Yang? She considers that maybe he slipped away when she was busy talking to Yang Ling. Once again, she concludes that it's all Yang Ling's fault. Leon tries to comfort his daughter, but Kira insists that he should believe her, that Ling Yang is a real genius, someone who even saved her. Leon tells her that he does trust her and understands she must have exited the trial early just to wait for him. If that's true, then it's definitely strange. He offers a possibility. Perhaps Yang Ling and Ling Yang are actually the same person. But Kira firmly denies it. She explains that the two are completely different. One of them panicked and ran when faced with the blood dragon, while the other, Ling Yang, was proficient in fire elemental magic. According to her, there's no way Yang Ling could do what Ling Yang did. Hearing this, Leon decides to go along with his daughter's judgment. While resting, Yang wonders who might be bad-mouthing him behind his back and suspects it's that annoying woman again. Then, suddenly, someone knocks at his door. He finds it odd, who would come visit him at this time. When he opens the door, he asks the man in front who he's looking for. The man replies that he was looking for Yang and that he has finally found him. He introduces himself as the manager of the city's overall liquid limited company and says his surname is Wang. Manager Wang explains that he heard Yang successfully changed his profession and even broke the highest level record in Qingchang's rookie secret realm test. He says he's here to invite Yang to endorse the company's product, assuring him that the compensation won't be low, at least a 3-figure amount. Then he clarifies that the amount is actually 3 million. The number surprises Yang. He takes a look at the product, Order Liquid, a formula said to nourish the brain and promote cell regeneration. Drinking it is rumored to make someone a few years younger. Yang thinks to himself that for that kind of money, people would be willing to sell a few livers. He understands that fame brings these opportunities. Manager Wang adds that Yang can try the product first. Their company has a 100-year legacy, and if it doesn't work, Yang can request a refund. Yang drinks it, comments that it tastes nice, but then mentions that he's feeling dizzy, and suddenly collapses. Manager Wang quickly calls his boss and tells him the task is done. He adds that Yang turned out to be a complete fool and that he didn't even need to use the backup plan. The boss tells him to bring Yang to his place. At a strange-looking warehouse, outside which a few people are sitting by a campfire, Manager Wang informs his boss that Yang has been delivered. Still confused, he asks why they are going to such lengths just to capture a single student. The boss tells him to stop asking questions he shouldn't and instructs him to guard the entrance. He adds that no one is allowed to enter without his orders, and those who disobey should be dealt with immediately. Manager Wang nods in understanding and leaves. Inside, Yang lies unconscious. The boss inspects him and is immediately stunned to see that all of Yang's previously sold organs, his pupils, coronary arteries, liver, gallbladder, kidneys, spleen, and stomach, have regrown. He mutters to himself that it's unbelievable. This kid sold all those parts, yet somehow they've all returned. With this discovery, he realizes he could uncover the secret of organ regeneration. Laughing like a maniac, he thinks that with such a secret, he could become immensely powerful and wealthy, powerful enough that even the most elite figures in the world would bow to him. But then he suddenly freezes. Yang is awake, already sitting calmly in a chair. This shocks the boss. He notes to himself that even an elephant wouldn't have woken up for 6 hours after consuming that drug. Yet Yang is not only awake but alert. Yang asks him how he managed to track him down. The boss pulls out a knife and says that since Yang is awake, there's no need for courtesy anymore. He tells Yang to surrender now so that he can at least keep his limbs. Yang quickly realizes that this man is also a job changer and is at level 20. It looks like Yang will have to get serious. If Yang uses a fire element spell here, the entire place would burn down, and he would rather keep a low profile. So instead, he chooses to cast the forbidden spell Eye of Eternal Frost. In this spell, the caster sacrifices one of their eyes. Before going blind, they unleash a wave of freezing power that locks everything within its range. Before the boss can fully grasp what's happening, Yang's eye begins to glow, and instantly, everything starts freezing. The boss attempts to counter it with his knife, but the blade shatters instead. He can't believe what's happening. How could someone at just level 16 cause so much trouble for someone like him, a level 20 job changer? Even if Yang is a forbidden spellcaster, he shouldn't have been able to defeat him in just one move. The boss can only conclude that this boy is no ordinary person. He's some kind of monster. Yang, now calm, returns to his seat. He feels like he can talk now and wants answers. He asks the boss who else knows about his organ regeneration ability. The boss replies that there's no way he would have told anyone else about something so valuable. Yang believes him for now and decides to end it quickly. With a single punch to the face, he shatters the man's skull and destroys the eyes that had been staring at him in shock. Then, remembering that he drank that dirty liquid, Yang decides to sacrifice his stomach. As a result, he summons a bolt of thunder that instantly takes down all the goons nearby. Only one of them, the one who actually kidnapped him, remains alive. The goon drops to his knees and starts begging for mercy. Yang asks him who's really behind all of this. The man says he can't reveal it. Yang, unimpressed, prepares to finish him off. But just as he's about to strike, the goon panics and begs for his life. He says he'll talk. He reveals that the mastermind behind everything is Kenshin, the underground king of Qingcheng City. Yang recognizes the name. Kenshin is known publicly as one of the city's top 10 philanthropists. If that's true, then things are starting to get far more complicated than Yang expected. While weighing his next move, Yang decides there's no reason to leave loose ends. Without hesitation, he takes down the last goon. At the Qingcheng Black black market, Kenshin, the boss, is informed that one of his important men has gone missing after going after a poor student. They haven't been able to contact him for over half an hour. When their people arrived at the location, they found the entire area burned down. From the surroundings, it looked like the work of a fire element awakener. Kenshin immediately shouts at his staff to investigate the matter thoroughly. He demands that the missing man be found at all costs. The staff member assures him that he will personally take charge of the investigation starting immediately. Later, we see Yang getting out of a car in front of Shane, who respectfully calls him boss and says that he had sent people to receive him as soon as he heard he was coming. Yang notices that Shane's house is quite large. Shane brings up the topic of the 2 million yuan that Yang had previously asked for. He tells Yang that he already informed his father about it, but there's some trouble for now in transferring it. However, Yang doesn't appreciate Shane bringing up money at this point. To him, it almost feels like Shane is looking down on him. Since Shane called him boss, then as a subordinate, money shouldn't matter anymore. Shane quickly places a hand on Yang's shoulder and says that he won't bring it up again. From now on, he wants Yang to treat this place as his own home. In his mind, Shane thinks that his father was right. Yang really is simple-minded. Meanwhile, Yang thinks to himself that as long as he hides inside the Ji family, he doesn't believe Kenshin would dare send someone here to capture him. As they walk further into the estate, a group of maids comes forward to greet them. Yang is taken aback by the scene, but seeing the luxury in front of him, he finally understands why everyone wants to be rich. Because rich people's lives are truly different. Shane asks him which maid he likes and says he'll have her sent to his room tonight. Hearing this, Yang decides not to hold back. Some of the maids even show initiative, clearly interested in helping Yang. Shane tells a few of them to help Yang change his clothes, but Yang says there's no need, he was just joking. Shane laughs and tells his boss not to be so modest. He says he just wants Yang to get changed because they're going somewhere important. Curious, Yang asks what this big thing is, but Shane says he'll find out once they get there. After changing into new clothes, Shane takes Yang to the Qingqing annual auction. He assumes this must be Yang's first time attending such an event. Shane explains that all the rich and powerful people of the city will be there, and he plans to introduce Yang to a few of them later. But Yang tells him not to worry. He should just focus on his own business for now. Meanwhile, Yang decides to go eat first. From Shane's point of view, it's laughable. He thinks the poor will always act like the poor. He notes to himself that Yang clearly looks like someone who's never seen the outside world. But Yang is starving. He's been busy all night, and after sacrificing his stomach, he's more than justified in wanting to eat. While Yang is eating, suddenly, a voice calls out to him, asking what he's doing there. It's Kira Knightley, once again, this time with her friend Lena, who asks who Yang is. Yang turns his face away, pretending not to recognize them. He silently wonders why he always runs into this dumb woman wherever he goes. Kira asks Lena if she remembers what happened in the secret realm. Lena says she remembers Kira mentioning that she met a genius fire user there, and she wonders if Yang is that person. Kira quickly dismisses the idea, telling Lena that this guy isn't him. This is the coward who ran away and left her in danger. She says meeting him here is unlucky and tells her friend they should go somewhere else. Yang hears every word, and it makes him smirk to himself. He wonders what this dumb woman's expression would look like if she found out that he's actually Ling Yang. Then suddenly, a group of people arrives with Shane, who introduces them all to his boss, Yang Lin. The others are completely stunned to see that Shane, someone they acknowledge as their leader, is in turn calling Yang his boss. Shane tells everyone to stop talking nonsense. Ordinary people, he says, are of course not qualified to be his boss. Then he asks if any of them even know what level his boss is at now. When they check Yang's stats, they are instantly shocked. Yang is at level 16. Now they realize why the name Yang Lin sounded so familiar. He's the top-ranked participant in this round of the Rookie Secret Realm. They all acknowledge that it's an extraordinary feat, especially since, when they first came out of the Secret Realm themselves, they were only around level 6. Yang tells them there's no need to be so surprised. He was able to reach that level because he had some knowledge about leveling up. With a small sigh, he adds that if only he could go outside the city with them, he would have brought them along to level up together. That way, they could have gotten good grades for their final exam. Hearing this, everyone immediately expresses interest in tagging along with Yang to level up. However, Shane points out that to avoid such situations, students are not allowed to leave the city before the final exam. Yang had already heard that the path to the final examination lies outside the city. So, during that time, if they're permitted to leave, they can level up together with him. Still, there's a problem. Even though Yang's level is high, he doesn't have any equipment. Shane quickly reassures him that getting equipment is easy. He tells Yang not to worry. As long as Yang brings him along to level up, anything Yang wants at the auction, he'll buy it for him. Yang asks for confirmation, wanting to know if Shane is serious. Shane confidently replies that of course he is, as long as it helps him score higher in the final exam. No matter how much money he has to spend, his father will support him. Later, the auction begins. Everyone is greeted by today's auctioneer, King, who welcomes them on behalf of the Jinbao auction house. She says she hopes that everyone attending today will be able to get what they desire. Without wasting time, she unveils the first item of the day, an epic tier skill scroll. It's a fire element skill suitable for mages. The starting price is set at 50,000, and each bid must increase by no less than 100,000. She invites everyone to begin bidding. Hands shoot up one after another, quickly raising the price to 600,000. But suddenly, Leon raises the bid to 3 million, and the entire room goes silent. Yang instantly understands, since Keira Knightley is a fire element awakener, her father is spending a fortune to buy this skill scroll for her. He thinks to himself how different life is when you have money. Fortunately, Yang doesn't need any skill scrolls himself. He's a forbidden spellcaster, and every skill he uses is a forbidden spell. Yang then tells Shane that since his profession is an A-rank swordsman, if he sees any abilities at the auction that suit him, he should place a bid. Yang says these abilities could save Shane's life when it really matters. Shane immediately understands. The next item is exceptionally rare, a ring that increases spiritual attribute by 30 and comes with a passive skill known as Dragon Blessing. The starting bid is 2 million, with minimum bid increments of 100,000. Bidding begins quickly, and the price soon rises to 3.1 million. Yang comments that a ring that increases spiritual attribute by 30 alone would be incredibly useful for them, so he immediately instructs Shane to place a bid. Shane asks his father to bid on the ring, and his father promptly places a bid of 8 million. To him, spending that much to help Shane enter a prestigious school is more than worth it. Besides, the lifespan of a forbidden spellcaster is short. In a few years, when Yang is no longer around, the equipment will likely return to the Ji family anyway, so he feels reassured. However, another person suddenly raises the bid to 10 million. This new bidder is Kenshin, who immediately greets President Ji, asking how he's been. Ji is puzzled. He wonders why the king of the underground is attending this event. Yang also takes note of Kenshin but keeps his head down. He can't afford to be discovered. Kenshin then demands that Ji explain why his man was taken down. Ji is confused by the accusation and doesn't understand why he's being blamed. Still, he wants to show that the G group is not to be messed with, so he increases the bid to 12 million. Kenshin smirks and accepts the challenge, saying he wants to see who will last until the end. He then quietly asks his staff if they've confirmed whether the car spotted near the warehouse really belonged to the G group. The staff member confirms it, there's no doubt. The car drove back to the G family villa that evening. This confirmation makes Kenshin furious. He vows to take down the G group, but warns his men that when he does, they shouldn't blame him for being ruthless. Later, as the Emperor Dragon ring is handed over to Yang, Ji asks if he really likes the ring. Yang replies that he does and thanks Uncle Ji. Shane then asks who that man was earlier. Ji tells him that it was Kenshin, the king of the underground. He's always wanted to clean up his image and become a legitimate businessman, but now he's trying to interfere with G Group's business. Yang adds that the G Group is a large organization and is bound to attract unwanted attention. He advises that they be more cautious moving forward. Ji agrees. After Yang puts on the ring, he can immediately feel its effects. The Emperor Dragon ring increases spiritual attribute by 30, and it can be refined. Its passive ability, Dragon Blessing, grants the wearer a blessing of dragon energy, increasing luck by 10. Yang finds the luck boost particularly fascinating. He tells Uncle Ji not to worry. Even if he has to carry Shane, he'll make sure Shane gets into a prestigious school. Uncle Ji just smiles and says there's no need to be so formal. He considers Shane and Yang as close as brothers, and if they need any more equipment, they only need to let him know. Later, Shane, feeling a bit exhausted, still expresses gratitude to his boss. He says that thanks to Yang, his father was willing to spend so much on equipment. Shane then asks Yang what gear he would like. He can pick anything he fancies. Several options are presented. Azure Thunder Ring increases spiritual attribute by 15, can be refined, and boosts lightning abilities by 20%. Molten Moon Necklace increases spiritual power by 200. Dual Yin-Yang Bracelets increase spiritual attribute by 40. When worn together, the Yin and Yang bracelets activate a twin effect that enhances healing factor. Yang looks over the items and thinks this isn't a bad haul at all. A ring that boosts thunder damage, a necklace that amplifies spiritual power, and a pair of bracelets that improve healing. Yang wants all of the equipment, especially the bracelets. Even if his body's secret is discovered by others, having this item will give him a way to shift suspicion and clear the air. The sword is also extremely powerful. With it, he'll be able to utilize his level 10 nullifying spell. The Starfall Fracture increases his strength attribute by 300, and under Starlight, it grants a stacking strength bonus, increasing up to a maximum of 100. Yang is absolutely in love with the blade. He tells Shane that with this weapon, they'll be unstoppable in the upcoming exams. The nullifying spell, combined with Yang's Xiaofer technique, has a deadly synergy. Every time the nullifier deals damage with his sword, 1 year of the user's life is consumed, and in return, the sword's damage doubles. This effect stacks up to 99 times. Meanwhile, at her home, Kira can't understand what the G family sees in that coward. The G group has already spent over 100 million on equipment alone, and all of it for someone like Yang Lin. She suspects they must be scheming something behind the scenes. Then, one of her staff informs her that Lena has arrived, and she's brought some people with her, claiming they have information about the person Kira has been searching for. Kira immediately becomes excited and instructs her staff to have them wait in the guest room. She'll be there shortly. Later, Kira meets them and asks if there's any news about Ling Yang. Lena introduces her to the investigator, Huang, who says he has some information regarding the person she's looking for. Huang greets Kira and confirms that he does have some intel, but unfortunately, it's not good news. Kira doesn't understand what he means. Huang explains that a farm in the city was burned down and many people perished in the fire. They found traces of a fire-based attack at the scene, and their investigation linked it to the same Ling Yang she's been searching for. He tells her that the investigation bureau would like her cooperation in the case. Kira, visibly upset, refuses to believe it. She says there's no way Ling Yang could be some kind of murderer. If he really were a killer, he wouldn't have saved her back then. Lena quickly steps in and asks Kira to calm down. Huang continues, stating that the Ling Yang she described can apparently use Hellfire to eliminate level 8 enemies with a single attack. However, during their investigation, they couldn't find much more about him. He then says there's someone else they're curious about and asks Kira if she knows this person. Kira asks who he's talking about. Huang reveals the name, Yang Lin. According to the results of their investigation, there's a high probability that Yang Lin is actually Ling Yang. This shocks Kira. She feels like Huang must be joking. She insists that Yang Lin is just a coward, someone terrified of death. That guy ran away from her when they were in danger. There's no way he could be Ling Yang, and he definitely doesn't have the power to use Hellfire. But Huang, maintaining a serious expression, asks her if she's absolutely sure. Unknown to her, he's actually using lie detection during the conversation. Kira replies that she is certain. She's the only one who has seen Ling Yang in person, and there's no way he could be that coward Yang Lin. Huang silently concludes that no one can lie in front of a polygraph expert like himself. It seems the murderer they're after is not Yang Lin. He thanks Kira for her cooperation and says he won't bother her any further, but if she receives any new information, he asks that she contact him immediately. Kira agrees and assures him that she will. Under the starlight, Yang tells Shane that they need to hurry and test the equipment. Still, he wonders where Shane is taking him. Shane replies that this is the place he was talking about, where Yang can test everything. At the entrance, a receptionist greets them and asks if they'd like to conduct practical training this evening. Shane confirms and tells her that yes, his boss would like to test out his new equipment. The receptionist then asks about their levels. When Yang says that he's level 16, the receptionist nods in understanding and offers to arrange a training room suitable for level 20 and below. She informs them that the price is 100,000 yuan per hour. However, Yang requests a training room for level 40 and below instead. The receptionist pauses for a moment, then quickly understands and agrees. She says she'll arrange it right away. In a training room filled with level 40 puppets, Yang draws his sword. Since there are no cameras inside, he's free to do whatever he wants. First, he tests the power of his life sword combined with the curse spell Burning Reincarnation. With a single sweeping strike, he slashes through countless puppets. Then, he follows up with the life sword curse spell again, taking down even more. So far, Yang is pleased with his performance. He decides to try out other curse spells next. Outside the room, loud crashing sounds echo from within. Hearing the chaos, Shane explains to the receptionist that with the exams approaching, his boss tends to go a bit wild when training. The receptionist just comments that if he trains that hard, he's sure to get good results. A moment later, Yang emerges, looking a bit exhausted. He says he's going to rest and then asks if he'll need to pay for breaking anything in the training room. The receptionist thinks he's joking. She replies that if a level 16 trainee can destroy anything in a level 40 training room, it means the quality of the room isn't up to standard. so they wouldn't have the right to demand compensation anyway. Yang smiles at that and tells Shane to come along with him. But when the receptionist walks into the room and sees the devastation, she screams to the heavens in shock. Later, at the G family's residence, the guards outside are suddenly attacked. Inside, G wonders what the commotion is. Then, one of his staff rushes in and shouts for him to run, but is immediately brutally taken down by Kenshin. G quickly draws a gun, but before he can fire, Kenshin swiftly disarms him. Putting a foot on G's face, Kenshin mocks him, saying he's a fool for using a gun against an awakened. Another gang member arrives and says they didn't find the targets. Kenshin concludes that G must have helped Yang and Shane escape. For now, he orders his men to take G away, saying he'll let him live a little longer. Meanwhile, Yang and Shane arrive at the residence. Shane is confused. None of the lights are on. He wonders if there's a power outage. But Yang suddenly smells blood. Alarmed, he dashes forward, and inside they see bodies lying all over the floor. Shane is terrified. He thinks they've entered the wrong house. There's no way this could be his home. Yang tells him to stay alert. Shane runs around frantically, calling for his father and Uncle Fu, desperate to know where they are. Yang scans the area and notices a piece of paper on the table. He picks it up and tells Shane to come take a look. On the paper is a message. If Shane wants to save his father, bring Yang Lin to the underground black market. For every 6 hours of delay, I will send a piece of his father. Shane clenches his fists, furious. He knows this must be Kenshin's doing. He swears to take him down. Yang tells Shane that this happened because of him, so he should be the one to handle it. He urges Shane to hide somewhere safe, saying he'll rescue his father. But Shane, filled with rage, insists on going with him. He wants to fight Kenshin with his own hands. Before Shane can finish speaking, Yang knocks him unconscious with a swift attack. He whispers for Shane to trust him and promises to bring his father back safely. After carefully laying Shane on his bed, Yang, now serious and resolute, swears to show Kenshin just how terrifying a curse master who no longer fears death can be. Later, in the shady part of Qing City, at the underground black market, Yang arrives, traveling swiftly across rooftops. He feels glad he made it in time, but suddenly he's spotted. Even Yang is shocked. They detected him far too quickly. That should have been impossible. Moments later, multiple laser pointers from rifles lock onto him. The goons jeer, asking Yang what century he thinks he's living in. Why is he still hiding in the shadows? Yang realizes there must be infrared night vision cameras tracking him. He didn't think there would be such advanced technology in the black market. Then, the goons tell Yang to follow them, saying that the boss has been waiting for him for a long time. As they begin approaching, Yang makes a quick decision. In a situation like this, it would be much simpler to charge straight in. He activates the curse spell, Burning Reincarnation. The goons react with shock. The right organ had only just regenerated, but Yang willingly sacrifices the left one this time. He grimaces as he feels his kidney dissolve from within. Gunfire erupts. The boss, having labeled him troublesome, has evidently given up on patience. The goons fire without hesitation. Bullets cut through the air, and Yang moves fast, dodging as many as he can. Still, the barrage is intense. But the curse continues to grow, expanding until it begins to engulf the entire area in its burning aura. Then, he casts another spell, Fleeting Dance paired with Speed Up. Now that it has come to this, Yang makes up his mind. No one who has seen him tonight can be allowed to leave. His secret is too dangerous to be exposed. He resolves to eliminate them all. Then his thoughts drift for a moment. Kenson's master is here. That's when he hears the sound of magic. Wing magic followed by wind blade. Someone is approaching, and from the feel of it, they're a wind type awakened, definitely above level 30. More goons emerge, this time wielding swords. One of them calls him a little bastard and asks how he dares come here alone. He questions whether Yang even fears for his own life. Another laughs and mentions that the boss gave strict orders to catch him alive. A man referred to as Seventh Brother responds calmly, saying there's no need to worry, he won't take Yang down just yet. Yang smirks and mutters under his breath that these men are simply unlucky, because right now he actually has his sword with him. With Starfall Trace, Yang swings his sword, testing how many times he can strike the enemies using his curse spell, Life Sword. But the other goons are unfazed. They scoff at the brat's arrogance and retaliate with wind magic, Dragon Pistol. Yang narrowly dodges the blast. That was just the first sword strike, he thinks. One of the goons admits the kid is fast, but now feels like he finally has a chance to land a hit with Wind Blade. Yang counters with the second sword. The goons acknowledge Yang's speed, but still wonder aloud if he's even serious. serious. None of them are hurt, after all. They laugh it off, clearly underestimating him. Yang rushes in and tells them not to get cocky. They haven't even seen his real sword skills yet. With his third sword strike, he dashes forward again, but the goon manages to dodge. Yang follows up immediately with the fourth sword, attempting to strike both enemies at once, but again, both evade the attack. Then comes the fifth sword, sixth and seventh relentless, powerful strikes. The attacks just keep coming, building momentum. Finally, with the eighth sword, Yang shatters the goon's weapons completely. As seventh brother begins to fall, the other goon momentarily loses focus. Yang notices an opening, but the eighth strike was so intense, he has to pause for just a moment to catch his breath. Even so, the other goon collapses as well. He can't believe what just happened. He demands to know what kind of sword technique this is, but Yang doesn't think he deserves an answer. He calmly finishes him off. The last one begins to sob, crying out that Yang isn't human, that he must be the devil himself. Yang doesn't flinch. He finishes him too. He had already told them, no one here is allowed to leave alive tonight. Then, he moves forward, cutting down more goons along the way. They scream for help, praying for someone to save them. But no matter what they do, they fail to stop him. No matter how hard they try, they simply can't land a blow or slow him down. Yang continues his advance, slashing through with unrelenting force. Eventually, the goons stop trying to fight and just start running away. They've completely lost the will to resist. Yang finds this a little irritating. Now, he'll have to start counting his strikes all over again. That's when he notices someone different, stronger, taller, and wielding an enormous axe. The man speaks, saying it's been a long time since anyone had the guts to come here alone and cause trouble. This guy is the black market's #1 fighter, Dazuki. He's at level 42. Dazuki eyes Yang with suspicion, wondering what kind of secrets this kid could possibly have, especially since he hasn't collapsed despite all his injuries. Yang, meanwhile, studies the massive axe in Dazuki's hands. That thing must weigh several hundred kilograms, he thinks. Then, Yang addresses Dazuki, saying that if he puts the axe down first, he's willing to reveal the truth about his powers. But Dazuki refuses. With a cruel smile, he says he'll just take Yang down and examine him slowly afterward. He swings his axe, a devastating blow that tears through the surrounding structure, leaving destruction in its wake. Yang immediately activates his curse spell, Burning Reincarnation, followed by Fleeting Dance. Seeing this, Dazuki bursts out laughing. He now realizes Yang is a curse master, but he also wonders how long someone like that can last, burning their own life force in exchange for temporary combat power. The thought only boosts his confidence. He continues swinging his axe with even more force, convinced that it's only a matter of time before Yang runs out of energy. Then, with a sudden and brutal strike, Dazuki knocks Yang's sword out of his hands. Just as Yang expected, a level 42 awakened is proving to be a formidable opponent. Dazuki laughs like a maniac, swinging his massive axe again and again. He mocks Yang, saying his sword skills are completely off the mark. Yang keeps dodging, trying to avoid the brutal strikes, but he can't evade them all. One hit lands hard, sending him flying into a wall. Dazuki walks toward him, claiming he was just getting warmed up, while Yang is already on the ground. Yang admits it. When it comes to close quarters combat, his swordsmanship isn't enough. But then he begins casting Recover over and over. He warns Dazuki that he's now been forced to act, and begins a major sacrifice. He lets go of multiple organs, naming each one as he gives it up. The air thickens with powerful, chaotic magic. Energy surges around him, violent and unstable. It's the curse spell, World-Destroying Thunder. The spell manifests like a roaring dragon, hurtling straight toward Dazuki. Dazuki stares in disbelief. What is this? He wonders. This should be impossible. But the dragon hits, and the fight ends in an instant. Yang may lack skill with the sword, but his thunder is something else entirely. There's no point in letting Dazuki learn anything from this. He can go ask the king of hell himself. Yang, however, is severely injured. He sacrificed too many organs at once. His vision blurs. He's feeling lightheaded, dizzy. Meanwhile, in a room above, the main boss of the facility sits calmly. A woman beside him remarks that she heard there was a little intruder downstairs. She hopes everything will be alright, but the boss doesn't look concerned at all. As far as he's concerned, nothing could possibly go wrong, not with Dazuki around. Then, smiling, he tells the lady that he has something delicious for her today and asks if she'd like to try a taste. The lady giggles with excitement, calling Kenshin really, really bad. But suddenly, the wall of their room explodes. Yang bursts in. Yang glares at the man inside and calls out, "Kenshin, where is Uncle G?" Kenshin's expression turns sour, clearly annoyed by the interruption. As the lady shrieks and begins running away, Kenshin turns to Yang and asks how he managed to get this far and what happened to Dazuki. Yang wastes no time. He leaps forward and declares that Dazuki is gone and that Kenshin is next. Kenshin simply laughs and effortlessly blocks Yang's attack. He tells him that plenty of people have tried to take him down, and a brat like him isn't even close to being worthy. Grabbing Yang by the collar with one hand, Kenshin uses heavy power, breaking grasp, crushing Yang's chest. He sneers and tells Yang to remember this lesson in his next life. Never mess with Kenshin. Satisfied that it's over, he tosses Yang across the room, irritated that he wasted so much time on someone so beneath him. But to his shock, Yang rises again. He uses recover, though he's clearly exhausted. His breathing is ragged, and his body is trembling, but he refuses to stay down. Kenshin stares in disbelief. He can't understand how Yang is still alive. But Yang doesn't care about dying. Not yet. Not until he finishes what he came for. Then, Yang sacrifices his left eye, allowing him to cast the curse spell, Eyes of Eternal Freeze. A chilling energy erupts from his body, freezing the air and Kenshin's limbs in place. Kenshin's eyes widen. What is this spell? He can't move, not even a finger. Yang steps forward and repeats his question, "Where is Uncle G?" Kenshin remains silent, defiant. He says he's not going to reveal anything. Fine. Yang begins preparing another spell. Since Kenshin wants to be stubborn, he'll have to suffer a little more. The next attack slams into Kenshin's arm, ice spreading through muscle and bone. Kenshin screams in pain. Suddenly, another figure enters the room, the same woman, now holding a gun. She shouts at Yang to stop, warning that she'll shoot if he moves any closer. Yang glances at her, puzzled. Is she trying to act righteous now? Are they going to start negotiating with hostages? She keeps the gun aimed straight at him, telling him not to take another step or she'll fire. Yang wonders if she actually plans to protect Kenshin, or if this is a bluff. But then, Kenshin scoffs and tells her he doesn't want a woman saving him. He orders her to get out, but the woman ignores him and opens fire. The bullet strikes Yang, causing him to stagger, but he still doesn't go down. The woman rushes over to Kenshin in a panic, but Kenshin immediately scolds her. He calls her a fool and tells her to get out of there. He warns her that this won't end easily. Yang is far from finished. The woman looks at him, stunned, unable to comprehend the situation. But behind her, Yang has already moved. He positions himself near the hostage and calmly begins casting another freeze spell. In a flash, the woman and the gun in her hand are both completely frozen, caught mid-motion. Kenshin shouts at Yang, telling him that if he wants someone to take down, he should come for him directly. He admits responsibility for everything and insists the woman knows nothing. He pleads for her to be left out of it, but Yang has no interest in hearing more. In the very next instant, he slashes a single, decisive blow. Kenshin is silenced and taken down just like that. To Yang, the man had become nothing more than a nuisance. Too loud, too late. With Kenshin lying motionless on the ground and the woman standing silently beside him, Yang pauses for a moment, wondering what that arrogant man had been shouting about. There's no way he can forgive him for what he did. The woman begins to cry as Yang grabs the hostage and prepares to leave. Through her tears, she asks why Yang took down Kenshin but spared her. Why not finish her off as well? But as Yang walks away, he simply responds that she's being silly. He doesn't kill women. He tells her to go her own way and disappears into the shadows. The woman is left speechless. Later, at the G family villa, Shane rushes forward, overjoyed to see his father finally safe and sound. He admits he almost thought he had lost him forever. G, surprised by the emotional reaction, gently asks why Shane is crying. He tells his son not to worry. Everything will be alright as long as he's alive. Turning to Yang, Ji thanks him and says that since he was unconscious through the whole ordeal, he wants to know how Yang managed to rescue him. Yang, however, simply replies that he's not entirely sure himself. After a pause, he says that his good friend, Ling Yi, was the one who saved him from Kenshin and even burned down the black market. Hearing the name, Ji looks puzzled. He wonders aloud where this mysterious and powerful man came from, someone he's never even heard of before. Yang admits that he doesn't know much about him either. He's only known Ling Yi for a short while. Ji nods and says that if Yang doesn't want to talk further, he won't press the matter. Right now, what's most important is that Yang and Ling Yu don't miss their upcoming exam. Yang agrees, and Ling Yu, standing beside him, says they'll both start preparing right away. But before Before they can do anything, another figure enters the scene. It's Officer Huang from the Investigation Bureau. He holds up a document and announces that Yang is currently a suspect in a major murder case in the city. He says that Yang must come with them to assist with the investigation and presents an official arrest warrant. Yang is taken aback. He hadn't expected the authorities to arrive so quickly. With the situation too risky to openly resist, he makes a swift decision. For now, he'll go with them. Shane, confused and distressed, begins to wonder why Yang is being arrested. As the officers lead Yang away, Yang turns back and tells Uncle G to remember to come and pick him up. Uncle G assures him not to worry. He promises to find the best lawyer possible to get him out. The door clicks shut behind them. Elsewhere, in a different part of the city, Keira Knightley is seen. A man approaches her and asks if she's heard the news about Yang, the same person she's been looking for. But Keira isn't looking for Yang. She's been searching for Ling Yi. She becomes visibly excited upon hearing that he's been found. However, the man tells her to change her clothes first. Officer Huang from the Investigation Bureau is waiting for her downstairs. He then steps out of the room and waits in the corridor. As he stands outside, holding his keys, he reflects on the situation. He never expected Yang to defeat Kenshin single-handedly. He wonders when Yang will come to him for help. Meanwhile, at the King City Investigation Bureau, inside a rundown interrogation room, Yang sits handcuffed under a dim light. He refuses to say anything until his lawyer arrives. An officer across the table scoffs and tells him to drop the attitude. Moments later, the officer grows more aggressive. He demands that Yang reveal everything he knows. When Yang stays silent, the officer grabs him and throws him against the wall, yelling at him to stop pretending. The officer insists that Yang hand over the key, the one they believe he took from Kenshin. Yang calmly responds that the key is not with him. He also warns the officer that if he lays another hand on him, he won't get a single word. Inwardly, Yang thinks about the key. He knows it must be important, but right now he has no idea what it even opens. What key? What does it mean? He genuinely doesn't know. The officer, growing frustrated, grabs Yang by the hair and repeats that the key is with him. But Yang maintains his composure. He tells the officer to take him out of the room first, then he'll hand over everything. Before he can say anything more, a punch lands squarely on his face. Dazed, Yang struggles to process what just happened. He can't believe the officer is treating him like a gangster would, so openly abusive. Catching his breath, Yang asks to make a phone call. Finally, the officer grabs a phone and hands it over, telling Yang that he should have asked earlier, then he wouldn't have had to suffer so much. As Yang begins making the call, he silently vows that sooner or later, he'll make this gangster wannabe officer pay for everything, tenfold. 10 minutes later, Mr. Zhuge arrives at the interrogation room. Without wasting time, he addresses the officers bluntly, telling them to stop rambling nonsense and handing over a key, saying this is what they wanted, right? The officer nods quickly and says that, in that case, they won't trouble Mr. Zhuge any further. Yang watches carefully. He can't help but wonder, how did Kenshin's key end up in Zhuge Xiang's possession? Is this all part of some larger conspiracy? Yang quietly thanks Mr. Zhuge for the help, but Zhuge responds with a calm, cryptic tone, saying he saved Yang for his own reasons. After all, if the secret of Yang's immortality were to be exposed, it would bring every powerful being in the world hunting him down. This revelation stuns Yang, confirms that Zhuge knows his secret. Now, Yang finds himself uncertain. Should I take him down now? He wonders, but outwardly, he stays calm and pretends not to understand. He plays dumb, asking what Zhuge means by immortality and what that's supposed to be. Zhuge's expression hardens. He says he noticed a flash of murderous intent in Yang's eyes just now. He asks if it was meant for him. Then, with a knowing smile, he concludes that his suspicion was correct. Yang truly is immortal. Still, Zhuge points out, even if Yang is immortal, he's far from strong. Yang narrows his eyes and asks what Zhuge wants from him. Zhuge responds with a single request. He wants Yang to become his disciple. Yang is taken aback. He didn't expect that. Before Yang can respond, Zhuge continues. He explains that it's true. His time is limited. He wants to take Yang in as a disciple and entrust him with several important tasks. Then, Zhuge reveals another key, holding it out toward Yang. Yang is stunned. He just saw Zhuge hand a key to the officer, so why does he have another? Zhuge explains that the one given to the officer was a fake. This, he says, is the real ancient heavenly key. Legend has it that when the heavenly gate descended upon the world, it brought not only terrifying monsters, but also 7 ancient artifacts. This key is one of them. The artifacts, said to hold unimaginable power, are scattered across the world, and this ancient heavenly key is the key to unlocking the gate they all lead to. Mr. Zhuge then turns to Yang once more, repeating his question. Is he willing to become his disciple and help him complete this mission? Yang remains silent for a moment, deep in thought. He already knows about my secret, Yang thinks. If I refuse, there's no telling what might happen. Realizing he has little choice, Yang finally nods. He tells Mr. Zhuge that since a master and senior like him is willing to take him in as a disciple, he will accept the offer. However, he admits that he's not sure whether he can truly carry out the mission. Mr. Zhuge lets out a short laugh. When did you become so humble? He says with amusement. With Yang's current power, if he were to enter the Supreme Academy for Higher Studies, the potential of his future would be limitless. Then Mr. Zhuge's expression turns a little more serious. He says there's one more thing he wants to entrust to Yang. Yang immediately asks what it is. Mr. Zhuge adds that once he is gone, he hopes Yang will look after his daughter and I on his behalf. Hearing that, Yang quickly responds that he believes his master will live a long life and there's no need to talk like that. Zhuge simply laughs, brushing off the concern. He says I has a lot to offer, and since both she and Yang are still young, there's no need to rush things. Relationships, he says, can be cultivated slowly over time. What matters most right now is that both of them focus on getting good results in the upcoming final test. Yang agrees and says it's time they leave the place. Later, back at the Zhuge residence, and I can barely believe her ears. She shouts that it's impossible. There's no way her father could have taken in someone like Yang as a disciple. To her, it's absurd that a coward could be considered worthy. Yang, unimpressed by her tone, tells her that if she has a problem, she can go ask her father herself. As Mr. Zhuge walks in, and I immediately turns to him, raising her voice and demanding to know why that guy is in their house. Zhuge gently addresses her as his little princess and asks why she's so upset now that she's back home. He then confirms that what Yang said is true. He has indeed taken him as a disciple. But I is stunned. She stares at her father, wondering if he's lost his mind. She reminds him that he's a forbidden spellcaster and questions what he could possibly teach someone who, in her words, won't even live past the age of 25. Mr. Zhuge, however, calmly tells her not to be so harsh. He explains that Yang is stronger than she thinks, and, more importantly, he is the very person she's been looking for all this time. He is Ling Yi. This revelation hits I like a slap. She stares at Yang in disbelief, calling it a joke. To her, Yang isn't just a coward, he's a liar, and now even her father has apparently fallen for his act. Frustrated and furious, she declares that she can't live under the same roof with someone like him. She storms out, vowing to find the real Ling Yi and expose Yang as a fraud. Once she's gone, Yang turns to Mr. Zhuge and asks if he still expects him to protect her. Zhuge sighs and says to forget it. In King Cheng, no one would dare lay a finger on her anyway. There's no need to take her words to heart. She's not a bad person, just a bit too arrogant. Mr. Zhuge then hands a small box to Yang, saying the final test is almost here and that this gift might be useful for him. Curious, Yang opens the box and finds a pill inside. He looks closer and realizes it's not just any pill, it's illusion skin. Zhuge explains that as long as Yang wears it, he can completely disguise himself as someone else. His voice, aura, and even physical presence will be altered. Yang is impressed. He finds the item extremely useful and thanks his master sincerely. Later, Yang arrives at the academy courtyard where students are gathering. Among them, Shun lights up as he spots Yang. Clearly relieved, Shun tells him that he's glad the boss showed up. He really thought Yang might not come this time. Yang assures him that skipping wasn't an option. He made a promise and he intends to keep it. Shun, looking excited, mentions that he heard from his father about Yang becoming Mr. Zhuge's disciple. Even the incident involving Kenshin seems to be resolved now. Nearby, I watches the two of them with disbelief. She still can't accept that her father would be fooled by someone like Yang. Shun notices her expression and, unable to tolerate her attitude toward Yang, turns and points a finger at her. He admits he used to like her, but he won't stand by while she insults his boss without any proof. And I retorts coldly that this scoundrel dares to impersonate Ling Yi. She promises that during the final test, she will expose him in front of everyone. Just then, a bus arrives. A tall man steps out and addresses the assembled students. He says that forging a good sword takes 10 years of grinding, and today marks the beginning of their own forging process. He wishes them luck in the final test and encourages everyone to do their best for the honor of King Chung Academy. The students cheer and shout with excitement, full of determination. 30 minutes later, at the massive city gate of King Chung, multiple buses are parked in a row. Students step out in awe, many of them seeing the towering gate for the first time. Their eyes widen as they whisper about its sheer height and grandeur. Yang exits the bus and reminds Shun that once they're out in the field, they'll need to stick together closely if they want to follow their plan. Shun agrees without hesitation. Outside the gate, students gather while a man standing near the entrance begins briefing them. He announces that the gate will open soon, and all candidates will be required to travel 10 kilometers through the wilderness to reach the test zone. This, he declares, is their first test. The instructor announces that the first students to enter will also be the first to encounter aggressive demonic beasts. Their survival, he says, will depend entirely on their own strength. He hopes they are ready. In unison, the students shout back that they are. With that, the massive gate begins to open. The final test has officially begun. A surge of excitement follows as students rush toward the opening. Among them, NI is laser-focused, not just on succeeding, but on making absolutely sure she doesn't fall behind Yang. Meanwhile, up on the towering wall above, several instructors observe the crowd of students funneling into the wilderness. They begin speculating among themselves about how many might qualify for Dexia Academy this year. Last year, only 5 made it, and they doubt this batch will do much better. Still, the teacher from King Chung Academy remains confident. He remarks that regardless of the numbers, at least 2 students from his school are certain to make it. He seems sure of his academy's superiority. Suddenly, a foul odor hits the students below. It's the sharp, nauseating stench of demonic beasts. And then it appears. A hulking creature emerges from the trees. A bloodthirsty demon lizard, level 11. As the students catch sight of its massive, blood-colored form and razor-sharp claws, panic spreads instantly. Without hesitation, most of them turn and start running away. Watching from above, one of the teachers mutters in disappointment that this year's crop seems weak. He says it's embarrassing that a mere level 11 demon lizard is enough to send them fleeing. The King Chung teacher smirks, noting smugly that none of the students retreating are from his academy. Down on the field, however, Yang does the opposite of fleeing. He moves swiftly toward the beast. In one clean, decisive strike from his sword, he slashes through the monster with ease. The other students freeze in place, stunned. They can't believe the power of that sword. Its aura and strength are unlike anything they've seen. It must be a rare artifact. Whispers ripple through the group as the realization spreads. The one who just defeated the demon lizard is none other than the forbidden spellcaster, Yilin, a level 16 with rare equipment, effortlessly cutting through a level 11 threat. Even so, some wonder why he didn't just finish the beast outright. Then Yang turns and calls for Shun to come over. Without a moment's hesitation, Shun dashes forward and delivers the finishing blow to the weakened monster. By defeating it together, the two successfully share the experience points as a party. The observing students gape in disbelief. They realize what just happened. Shun is essentially farming experience points using a level 16 forbidden spellcaster as his teammate. It's too good to be true. Seeing how effortlessly Yang and Shun handled the demon lizard, and realizing how valuable it is to have such a powerful teammate, the other students quickly begin calling out to them. Several ask if Yang is looking for more subordinates, hopeful to join the party and share in the rewards. But Shin doesn't wait around to answer. The moment he hears the word teammate, he bolts. He dashes away at full speed, knowing exactly what a larger group means. Experience points divided too many ways. For Shun, who's already partnered with a powerhouse like Yang, more members would only water down the rewards. Behind them, NI watches everything unfold with crossed arms and narrowed eyes. Her pride remains untouched. She tells herself that no matter how impressive Yang may seem right now, she's not worried. This time, she's determined. She will surpass him. Later, Yang's team is seen cutting through the wilderness, effortlessly taking down a level 11 werewolf and a level 13 skeletal archer. Each victory gives them a solid boost in HP and confidence. They even manage to defeat a level 12 chimera, which proves a bit more challenging but still falls to their coordination. Shun is overwhelmed with excitement. Watching his level steadily climb, he can hardly believe his luck. Everything feels surreal, like a dream he doesn't want to wake up from. By the time he hits level 8, he silently swears to himself that no matter what the future holds, he's sticking by Yang's side. To him, Yang isn't just a team leader anymore, he's a true boss. Yang, however, stays focused. He reminds Shin not to get carried away. They've only just scratched the surface. The number of demonic beasts nearby is already thinning, and they'll have to venture deeper to continue progressing. As they push forward, Shin hesitantly raises a concern. If they go any further, won't they start encountering beasts between level 20 and 30? But Yang brushes it off. He calmly assures Shin that level 20 beasts are manageable for him, and if they happen to run into a level 30 monster, they'll simply retreat. It's not worth dying over. Meanwhile, far away on the wall overlooking the test zone, the teachers continue monitoring the students' progress. One of the instructors from King Chung Academy watches Yang's movements with increasing concern. To him, Yang is acting recklessly. With his strength, entry into Dexia Academy is already guaranteed. So why would he risk everything by dragging a low-level student like Shin into the deeper zones? Another teacher nearby tries to reassure him. He tells old Gao not to worry. There are examiners stationed throughout the area. If anything goes wrong, backup will arrive quickly. Back in the forest, Yang and Shin push on. The deeper they go, the more aggressive the monsters become. Level 20 beasts begin appearing in clusters, but Yang handles them efficiently. Even then, he warns Shin to stay sharp. He doesn't want him taking unnecessary risks or losing his life over a moment of carelessness. Shin promises to take care of himself. He knows his limits and won't provoke danger without cause. Then Yang leaps into the air, preparing a major attack. He silently acknowledges how draining the lifespan sword skill is. It's not something he can rely on for long battles. So instead, he resorts to a trump card. With a heavy cost, he activates his forbidden spell, World-Ending Thunder. The attack lands with explosive force, wiping out several level 20 beasts in an instant. Shin can only stare in awe, barely able to process the destruction he just witnessed. He wonders aloud if Yang always fights like this, so violently, so decisively. Yang simply replies that this was nothing. The real brutality hasn't even begun yet. But before they can go any further, someone intercepts them. An examiner steps out from behind the trees. He calmly informs them that they're approaching the edge of the designated test area. Leaving the zone without authorization is strictly forbidden, and it's dangerous beyond this point. Yang quickly realizes that they've reached the edge of the test zone. Even Shin points it out, they're definitely too far in. Acknowledging this, both of them agree to comply and start to turn back, assuring the nearby examiner that they'll follow the rules from here on. But just as they prepare to leave, Yang suddenly spots something massive in the distance. His expression hardens as he warns the examiner to look behind him. Shin also sees it, but it's already too late. The examiner, however, doesn't react. He suspects a trick. After all, he's been doing this job for over 2 decades. Scaring examiners with fake warnings is a textbook tactic for breaking boundaries. He's not about to fall for such an obvious ploy. Still, the urgency in the students' voices doesn't let up. They shout again, louder this time, desperate for him to look behind. Then comes a thunderous roar. That's when the examiner finally turns around, only to come face to face with a towering level 33 goblin hero. But the realization comes a second too late. The beast charges without hesitation, and its attack crashes into him before he can react. In the chaos, Yang immediately yells at Shin to retreat. He declares that he'll stay back and distract the monster. Shin hesitates, unwilling to abandon him. He tries to argue, but Yang doesn't wait. He kicks Shin away hard. He reminds him of the one rule he should have memorized by now. When Yang says to run, you run. Turning back to face the goblin hero, Yang's mind races. Taking this creature down would be difficult enough, but doing so without revealing his full strength would be nearly impossible. He knows there's no avoiding it now. Making a split-second decision, he activates Sacrifice and follows it with the forbidden spell Sudden Dance. Shun calls out to him from afar, telling him to be careful and promising to wait ahead. Meanwhile, the wounded examiner struggles to speak, urging Yang to run instead and leave the goblin to him. He says he'll signal for help, but before he can even finish, a massive blow slams into his side. The examiner collapses. Without wasting a second, Yang grabs the man and bolts. As he dashes through the underbrush, the goblin hero gives chase. Yang yells, trying to keep the examiner conscious, asking him to hang on, begging him to stay awake. A flare streaks into the sky, a bright red signal for reinforcements. Yang glances upward, frustrated. If the examiner had just passed out, it would have been simpler. Now he has to worry about being seen, about revealing things he shouldn't. He curses the flare silently and wonders if it was really necessary. But help arrives faster than expected. 2 more examiners appear and quickly assess the situation. Without hesitation, they tell Yang to leave immediately. They don't want to risk injuring him in the crossfire. Yang gives a thumbs up and agrees, saying he'll evacuate the wounded examiner and get him to safety. As the 2 new examiners begin their battle against the goblin hero, Yang looks back one last time, a mischievous glint in his eyes. He chuckles to himself, already hatching a clever idea. Yang pulls out the small black box from his inventory, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. This, he thinks, is the perfect moment to test the illusion skin. With practiced precision, he tears off the illusionary form of the examiner's face and applies it to himself. The transformation completes almost instantly, his features morphing into that of the injured examiner he had just rescued. The experience is strange yet fascinating. He admires the realism of the illusion, already plotting how else it could be used. Meanwhile, the 2 real examiners are still locked in a desperate clash with the goblin hero. Their movements are sharp and deliberate, clearly attempting to end the fight quickly, so the final test isn't further disrupted. The goblin isn't holding back either. Its massive claws swipe wildly, desperate to land a blow. Suddenly, a commanding voice rings out from the treeline, calling the beast a filthy creature and chastising it for daring to interfere with the final trial. The 2 examiners glance over in surprise, spotting a 3rd colleague stepping into the battlefield. It's Yang, now disguised as one of their own. Striding forward with complete confidence, Yang assures them he's here to help. Then, without hesitation, he declares that they should simply stand back and observe how a true professional handles such a pest. Raising his hand, he conjures a brilliant surge of energy and unleashes a forbidden spell, Eternal Arrow. The shot glows with a blinding radiance as it pierces through the air and strikes the goblin hero dead center. The monster lets out a guttural cry before collapsing into the dirt, lifeless. A system message flickers into view in front of Yang's eyes. Team killed, level 33 goblin hero, 220 experience points earned. A shimmer on the ground catches his attention, Talisman of Symbiosis. Yang quickly pockets the item, trying not to look too pleased. One of the examiners notices the drop and casually asks if he could have it. Yang, still perfectly in character, says he'll hand it over later. He remarks, almost offhandedly, on how rare it is for demonic beasts to drop anything useful at all. It makes this talisman an even more precious reward. Inside, he grins. This little trick worked better than expected. The other examiners stare at Yang in disbelief, their faces a mix of confusion and frustration. One of them steps forward, narrowing his eyes, and demands to know which department Yang is from. They don't buy his act. In their eyes, he hadn't helped at all. If anything, he had swooped in just to steal their kill. But Yang merely throws his head back and laughs, dismissing their concerns with exaggerated nonchalance. He tells them there's no need to fuss over small things. As far as he's concerned, he's just a benevolent figure who doesn't stick around to take credit for his good deeds. With a grin, he insists that they can simply call him a kind man. His act, however, doesn't charm everyone. The older male examiner still looks annoyed and unwilling to accept Yang's so-called kindness. The female examiner, more pragmatic, waves it off and tells him to let it go. They still have a final exam to oversee. Once it's finished, they'll track him down and get to the bottom of who he really is. Yang decides that it's time to end the performance. With a smirk, he releases the illusion and returns to his original form. Silently, he muses that they'll never find him again anyway, not once he's slipped back into the crowd. Sometime later, the map screen shows Qingcheng and the location of the final test teleportation gate in the outskirt forest. It highlights where Yang currently is, with the examiner he rescued still lying unconscious nearby. Yang, however, is far more focused on his new favorite item, the symbiotic talisman. He reviews its details. When used, it allows 2 awakeners with a level gap of fewer than 10 to share all experience gained from defeating monsters for 6 hours. A single-use item, and once bound, it can't be transferred. To Yang, this feels like a jackpot. Used strategically, it could effectively double his leveling speed. Just then, a panicked cry rings out from nearby. Yang turns to see Shin sprinting toward him, yelling for help, with a monster hot on his heels. Without hesitation, Yang leaps into action and lands between Shun and the creature just as it's about to strike. Shun stares in relief and amazement, visibly overjoyed to see his boss alive and well. He begins to ask about the goblin hero, but Yang simply tells him to calm down. The other examiners took care of that one. Then Yang instructs Shun to hold still, but Shun, still frazzled and confused, starts fidgeting and hesitating. There's something about this whole situation that's making him feel odd. Yang, clearly annoyed, snaps at him to focus. The monster is right in front of them, after all. Why is he even hesitating? Without waiting for a reply, Yang launches forward and uses Forbidden Spell, Lifespan's sword skill. The attack lands with precision, instantly cutting down the level 13 Anubis soldier. The system registers the kill and awards 130 experience points, benefiting from the symbiosis effect that's now active. Shun's eyes widen in realization. He understands now this must be the power of the symbiotic talisman. Curious and impressed, he starts to ask where Yang found such an item. But Yang's patience is already wearing thin. Because Shun had made things so awkward during the activation of the talisman, Yang simply tells him to go handle the rest of the mobs on his own. He tosses in a half-hearted insult, calling him a disgusting thing, before turning away, clearly frustrated. Shun tries to explain himself, insisting that what happened earlier was just a misunderstanding. He even goes as far as clarifying, rather awkwardly, that he's definitely straight. But Yang isn't having any of it. With a dismissive wave, he tells Shun to stop tagging along and just scram. Now that the symbiotic talisman is active, it's more efficient for them to hunt separately and make the most of the shared experience gain. Shun nods, understanding the logic. Still, he quietly mutters that there aren't many monsters around that he can handle on his own. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the forest, a group of students is facing off against a snarling beast. One of them confidently points out that the level 10 werewolf will be taken down soon. But just as they're preparing to land the final blow, a sudden ambush unfolds. Other monsters had been lying in wait, ready to strike. Before chaos can erupt, a figure bolts through the trees with incredible speed, lightning crackling around him. In one smooth, thunder-charged attack, the hidden monsters are obliterated. The onlooking students gasp in shock. The spell's power is overwhelming. 3 werewolves eliminated in an instant. It doesn't take them long to recognize who it is. Whispers ripple through the group. That's him, the forbidden spellcaster who ranked first in the previous test. Some of them are still in awe, while others question his recklessness. Forbidden spells may be powerful, but they're dangerous. Was he trying to die out here? But then something odd catches their attention. Yang is recovering. Quickly, they notice the gear strapped to his wrist, and Yang, ever sharp, subtly raises his arm to show it off. He needs them to believe his rapid healing is due to equipment. They must not find out about his true secret, his immortal body. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts again as an enormous shadow looms over the group. A level 20 minotaur emerges from the trees, sending a wave of panic through the students. One boy yells for everyone to run, his voice trembling as he cries out for help. The others don't hesitate. They scatter in fear, knowing full well that level 20 beasts are a different league entirely, more than enough to wipe them out in a single strike. But Yang remains rooted to the spot. His eyes gleam with anticipation. This was exactly what he'd been hoping for. More beasts to wipe out, more experience to claim. As the others flee, he's glad to have the monsters all to himself. With a series of swift, devastating slashes and another burst of powerful sword energy, he cuts through the monsters like they're nothing. Standing nearby, Shun watches in stunned disbelief. He starts laughing hysterically, unable to contain his excitement. In his eyes, his boss is nothing short of a monster himself, unstoppable, unrivaled, and completely insane in the best way. Shun marvels at the sheer amount of experience he's gaining without even lifting a finger. Elsewhere, in the control tower above the forest, old Gao and a group of teachers are monitoring the test through surveillance screens. Gao lets out a long sigh. If only this child hadn't chosen the path of a forbidden spellcaster. He thinks Qingqing might have nurtured another dragon. One of the other instructors chimes in, pointing out the obvious. Almost every monster in the test zone has been wiped out by a single student. Thanks to Yang's earlier rampage through the forest, the number of test takers who were unable to reach the final stage due to monster attacks had dropped significantly this year. The path ahead was unusually clear, and soon enough, more students began to emerge from the woods, visibly relieved. Some of them were chuckling among themselves, feeling clever about their strategy. By deliberately hanging back and moving slowly, they had managed to avoid most of the danger. Now that the monsters had been taken care of, the route to the teleportation gate was practically a walk in the park. They began to rush forward, eager to secure their spot in the final test. Still, one of them raised a cautionary note, reminding the others that getting hurt now would be foolish. The real challenge, the final examination, was just beyond the teleportation gate, and entering it while injured would only make things harder. Meanwhile, Yang stood silently near the base of the stairs that led to the teleportation platform. His thoughts drifted to the fact that every single monster in the area had been dealt with, and his own level had climbed up to 18. But he also knew well, progress wouldn't come so easily from now on. The higher one's level, the more experience was needed to rise further. Satisfied with his gains, he turned his gaze toward the glowing portal. The time had come. He stepped forward and entered the teleportation gate. In a flash of light, Yang and the other students were transported to a strange, unfamiliar space. This was the final examination zone. As soon as Yang stepped into the final examination zone, he took a moment to observe his surroundings. The place was already crowded with test takers who had managed to reach this far. It looked like a large number of them had survived the earlier rounds, though Yang knew most wouldn't make it much further. Shane soon caught up, waving enthusiastically as he called out to his boss. Overflowing with admiration, he once again praised his decision to follow Yang, declaring that he must have chosen the right person. To him, Yang was simply amazing. Yang, however, was having none of it. He raised a hand and kept Shane at arm's length, telling him firmly to keep some distance. With so many people around, the last thing he needed was anyone getting the wrong impression. Shane tried to change the topic, mentioning with excitement that he had already reached level 15. Yang, still not amused, repeated his request, "Don't get too close." Nearby, an I was grumbling. Despite all her efforts, she had only managed to gain 2 levels. But she quickly reassured herself. Levels didn't matter as much now. With the final test ahead, everything would depend on skill, strategy, and performance. The atmosphere suddenly shifted as a group of examiners stepped forward, their presence immediately silencing the crowd. One of them raised his voice to address the group. He introduced himself as Lin Yuan, the chief examiner, and welcomed everyone to the 886th final test of Qingqing. According to him, the forest outside was nothing more than a qualifying round. Only those who had made it here were eligible to begin the real test. He explained the rules clearly. The final test would be conducted in 2 major phases, the comprehensive assessment and the ring battle. The first part consisted of 10 different stages, each worth up to 10 marks. Only candidates who scored a total of 85 or more would be allowed to participate in the ring battle. Winning a ring battle would award 10 additional marks, and the maximum possible score was 150. That total would determine the top scorer of this year's final. He warned that no special items were to be used inside the test. Anyone caught violating this rule would be instantly disqualified. With the rules announced, the chief examiner signaled the start of the comprehensive assessment. Students were instructed to line up in groups of 10 and begin entering the assessment chambers. Yang's heart began to race as he stepped toward the front. This was it, the moment he had been preparing for. The final test that could shape his entire future. He couldn't afford a single mistake now. Everything depended on what he did next. Up on the examiner platform, just as things were about to begin, a new figure arrived. A woman in formal robes approached briskly and greeted Chief Examiner Lin. She introduced herself as Xiu Qingxin, the supervisor from the Supreme Academy, apologizing for arriving late. Her presence didn't go unnoticed. Even among the examiners, she commanded a different kind of respect. Supervisor Xiu Qingxin arrives just as the tests are underway. She casually mentions to Chief Examiner Lin Yuan that she's sorry for being late, but he reassures her there's no need to apologize. Her timing is perfect. She then inquires if there are any exceptional candidates this year. Lin confirms that there are quite a few standouts, but one in particular grabs his attention, Yang. He informs her that Yang has already reached level 18, which causes Xiu to raise an eyebrow in surprise. She acknowledges that, with a level that high, the boy technically already meets the requirements for admission into the Supreme Academy. However, Lin reminds her of the one glaring issue, Yang's status as a forbidden spellcaster. Xiu admits it's unfortunate, but she also recalls that the Academy has started allowing A-class professions in, even if they fall under that forbidden category. So perhaps, she says, there's still a sliver of hope. Still, both she and Lin share a common concern. They reflect on the reputation and track record of forbidden spellcasters, how it's usually a road that leads to downfall. Lin adds that if Yang didn't carry that burden, Qingqing might have produced another legendary figure. Down in the testing hall, Yang proceeds with his assessment. When it's his turn, he steps forward and places his hand on the attribute crystal. Almost immediately, The readings are projected for everyone to see: 480 in strength, 270 in agility, and an impressive 1,199 in mental power. The examiners exchange confused glances. One of them wonders aloud how a forbidden spellcaster could possibly have such an unusually high strength stat. Another speculates that he might be using special equipment to artificially boost his physical stats. There's some baffled discussion among them. They question why someone with a caster's role would even need such strength. One examiner even remarks that 480 points exceed what most warrior-type professions usually possess. They decide to hold further judgment until the next test, the attack stage, where they can observe his combat abilities more clearly. As the third stage begins, Yang mentally reviews his options. He knows his most powerful skill, Godly Chaos Thunder, would be too much of a reveal, so he chooses to hold back. He settles on using only a fraction of his world-destroying thunder, hoping it's just enough to demonstrate capability without exposing his secrets. Even with this weakened version, the effect is dramatic. As he unleashes the attack, the entire set of high-durability dummies is destroyed in one swift blow. The blast is loud, radiant, and utterly overwhelming. The dummies, built to withstand attacks below level 25, are obliterated instantly. The entire room falls silent. The other examinees, now drawn to the spectacle, watch in disbelief. One examiner, breaking the silence, quietly points out that the dummies were designed to handle multiple attacks. The examiners begin murmuring among themselves, trying to make sense of what they just witnessed. Some speculate whether the spell Yang used might have been a forbidden spell. After all, those were supposed to be extremely powerful. But if that were true, one of them wonders how someone could get away with using such spells in a sanctioned final test. The idea baffles them, but they agree that regardless of the method, what Yang just did was nothing short of extraordinary. Yang doesn't stop there. As the assessment progresses, he continues to demonstrate not just magical aptitude, but also exceptional close combat skills. During Stage 4, which tests physical prowess, he secures another perfect score. The same outcome follows in Stage 5, thanks to his precise application of thunder-based skills. Stages 6 and 7 also end with him earning full marks. Stage after stage, his consistency and dominance leave the examiners both amazed and disturbed. Chief Examiner Lin eventually voices his concern. He remarks how this boy is wielding forbidden spells like it's an everyday occurrence and suggests that, at this rate, Yang will be lucky to live beyond 20. Another examiner leans in and asks Lin if he intends to raise the difficulty level for Yang's final stage. Rather than deciding immediately, Lin defers to Supervisor Xiao Qingxin. He asks for her professional opinion. Xiao, still focused on the broader picture, wonders aloud if Yang keeps performing like this, achieving full marks throughout. Will the Supreme Academy even accept someone like him? Then, after a brief pause, she apologizes to Lin. She says that from her standpoint, other candidates, like Luo Zuanwang, Zhenglin Zhu Guanai, and Xiling Yu, are far more suitable for the academy. In her view, investing in a forbidden spellcaster is too risky. Their power, she explains, comes at the cost of their own lifespan. Supporting such a student would be nothing more than a waste of the academy's resources. Lin quietly accepts her assessment, though he can't help but sigh in disappointment. He mutters that all of this, Yang's remarkable performance, still feels like a terrible waste. Later, the final scores are posted, and the students gather in anticipation. Shen hurries up to Yang and excitedly tells him that he scored 96 marks and is ready for what comes next. But Yang, a bit puzzled, wonders aloud why Shen didn't get a full score. Shen immediately becomes evasive, nervously brushing it off and explaining that he lost marks during the actual combat evaluation and doesn't want to go into the details. Nearby, other students exchange comments about their own scores. One laments that he only got 55 marks and has no idea what to do next. Another mentions that he scored 85, which should be enough to get him into a decent university. Then Chief Examiner Lin steps forward and begins announcing the top rankings. First place, unsurprisingly, goes to Yang with a perfect 100. In second place is Zhu Jini, also with 100 marks. Third place is Luo Jun with 98, and the list continues on. Once the rankings are read out, Lin addresses the crowd, telling all candidates with scores below 85 to leave the area under the examiner's supervision. Those who scored 85 or above, he says, may also choose to leave, but doing so will be taken as forfeiting the ring battle. At that point, Nini raises her hand and asks the examiner whether she can voice an objection about the results. Nini, clearly agitated, raises her concern and asks why she has been placed second even though both she and Yang received full marks. The fact that she's behind someone someone like Yang, whom she openly despises, is something she simply cannot accept. Her frustration spills out, and she questions the fairness of it all. Around her, murmurs begin to spread through the crowd of students. They, too, start questioning the results, pointing out that if the scores were equal, both students should logically share first place. Some voices, particularly from the female students, begin to express indignation. They see this as yet another example of how the world looks down on women. One of them even accuses the system of being biased, calling it outright discrimination. Just then, the examiner raises his voice, calling for silence. He gestures toward the massive screen behind him and instructs everyone to pay attention. The display lights up, and what follows speaks for itself. He explains how Zhu Jini, as the daughter of the esteemed Mr. Zhuge, has shown exceptional talent. Her performance during the test was indeed extraordinary, skillful, composed, and intelligent, just as expected from someone with her lineage. Her adaptability and execution were at the top tier. However, he points out that Yang's case is entirely different. What Yang accomplished wasn't just impressive, it was nearly unbelievable. He had taken down a level 25 demonic flame wolf with a single attack skill. And not only that, he had done it in under a second. The crowd goes silent as the footage plays, and realization begins to dawn on their faces. Their disbelief quickly turns into awe. Mouths fall open as they witness the sheer power and decisiveness of Yang's action. What once seemed like an unjust decision now makes complete sense. The murmuring dies down. The earlier claims of favoritism and discrimination fade away, replaced by a stunned silence and growing respect, even if reluctant, for Yang's overwhelming strength. The examiner takes this opportunity to ask one last time if anyone still has objections to the final test results. Judging by the silence that follows, it's safe to say that no one dares to speak up again. The crowd remains silent. With no objections raised, the examiner instructs all test takers who scored above 85 to take a half-hour break and prepare themselves for the upcoming tournament. The rankings are now official. Yang holds first place, followed closely by Zhuge Nini in second. Meanwhile, the principals from various academies begin to discuss the results amongst themselves. They remark once again on how Qingqing Academy seems poised to make waves across the academic and magical world. The fact that both students with perfect scores came from the same academy is something they can't overlook. Jealous murmurs bubble among some of the others. To them, Yang's continued success seems almost suspiciously fortunate. Principal Gao, however, is clearly basking in pride. He boasts not only about Yang and Nini but also reminds the others that the fourth-place student is from his academy as well. His loud, hearty laughter echoes through the stands. But another principal cautions him to temper his excitement, at least for now. The real test is about to begin, the tournament, and anything can happen in live combat. Gao responds with some confidence, speculating on how their competitors might handle a level 18 forbidden spellcaster like Luo Jun. But the other principals aren't so easily discouraged. They still believe their students stand a chance. The nature of real battle is unpredictable, and upsets are always a possibility. Half an hour later, the mood in the arena shifts again as the tournament begins. As students pass by one another, a subtle but intense tension lingers in the air. Nini crosses paths with Yang. Her gaze is sharp, her posture confident. She lets him know, in no uncertain terms, that she has no intention of losing to him in the tournament. Yang, on the other hand, finds her attitude increasingly irritating. He's unable to make sense of what her issue with him really is. Soon after, an announcement blares through the arena. The tournament is about to commence. The rules are straightforward. Matches will be decided through a lottery draw. Each victory will grant the winner 10 additional points and advancement to the next round. The teacher in charge explains how the matchups will be determined. The sum of two participants' serial numbers must equal 104. The first match is announced. Test taker number 18, Yang, will face test taker number 86, Bei. Shun immediately notices the matchup and points it out excitedly, since his own number is 24. Yang simply acknowledges the pairing and makes his way toward the battlefield. Shun, ever the loyal subordinate, calls out to his boss, cheering him on to give it everything he's got. As per the rules, both competitors are asked to declare their profession and level, which they do without hesitation. With the formalities complete, the battle begins. Yang turns to his opponent and suggests that it might be better for her to surrender now, trying to spare her the humiliation of a one-sided match. But Bei is having none of it. While she admits to herself that Yang is strong, she refuses to accept his patronizing attitude. She's determined to prove herself, even if the odds are stacked against her. Yang gives a nod of acknowledgement toward his opponent opponent, commending her for her bravery. After all, anyone who managed to score 85 or more in the final test couldn't be considered average. But admiration aside, he doesn't hold back. With calm precision, he raises his weapon, his tonsil, and unleashes a torrent of thunder. A massive surge of lightning bursts forth, crackling and roaring as it floods the entire arena. The sheer magnitude of the display leaves the crowd stunned. Even the audience, seasoned examiners and students alike, stare wide-eyed, struggling to believe what they're witnessing. It looks as though the match will be over in seconds. But unlike the mindless monsters Yang has dealt with before, this is a fellow student, someone he can't defeat recklessly. The examiner quickly steps in, warning Yang that killing is strictly prohibited during the tournament, and doing so would lead to immediate disqualification. Yang responds without resistance. He clarifies that he has no intention of killing his opponent, but he also questions how else he's supposed to force a surrender if not through sheer overwhelming power. Turns out, he doesn't have to do much more. The moment she's engulfed by the thunderous energy, the girl collapses to her knees. Her face is pale, and tears begin to stream down her cheeks as she trembles uncontrollably. Fear has completely overtaken her. She admits defeat not through words but through uncontrollable sobbing. The audience murmurs among themselves, shocked at the outcome. They joke and complain, calling Yang a brute for making such a beautiful girl cry. Many had always assumed that crying from fear was just a literary exaggeration, an overused metaphor. Now they see it for what it is, a devastatingly real reaction. Yang turns to the other students watching and advises them plainly to surrender if they ever end up matched against him. It's not a threat, more of a cold fact. With the match decided, the examiner declares test taker number 18, Yang, as the winner of the first round. 10 points are added to his score, but Yang doesn't look pleased. He finds the entire thing disappointing. With little satisfaction gained from such an easy victory, he strolls off to watch the other matches. Meanwhile, Kiranini faces her own opponent with unshaken confidence. She makes it clear she has no intention of losing, but her adversary is just as determined, refusing to back down without a fight. Elsewhere, Shin bursts into laughter mid-battle. He's never experienced such a clear power gap before, and the thrill of dominating his opponent purely through level advantage is new and intoxicating. As match after match concludes, the tournament progresses. Victors emerge from each battlefield, and soon the second round officially begins. In one corner of the arena, a nervous test taker steps forward for his second match. He freezes when he sees who his opponent is, Yang. He can hardly believe his luck. Still, he tries to reassure himself. Maybe, just maybe, he can pull off a win. He introduces himself, Chang Chun, a cloud-stepping swordsman at level 11. Yang readies his sword with practiced ease. He glances at his opponent with a bit of curiosity. The man seems oddly confident despite his lower level. Perhaps he has a secret weapon, some hidden technique that could turn the tide. Yang decides to stay alert, but just as the match is about to begin, the unexpected happens. Chang Chun raises his hand and calmly announces his surrender. The match ends before it even starts. Yang wasn't expecting that outcome, not in the slightest. His expression turns to one of genuine surprise when his opponent backs out without even lifting a weapon. After all, the same person had just confidently claimed that he would win. That kind of certainty doesn't usually end in immediate surrender. But the opposing student simply shrugs it off, explaining that revenge doesn't have an expiration date. He assures Yang they'll meet again, somewhere down the line, when the tables might turn. Even the examiner appears momentarily puzzled by the abrupt end. Still, doing her job, she announces the result without delay. Test taker number 18, Yang, is once again the winner, with 10 more points added to his total. In the audience, murmurs rise among the students. Many of them comment on how absurdly easy this victory was. Yang hadn't even made a move. The fight never even started. Some shake their heads, finding it all a little ridiculous. But others argue that it's entirely expected. No one in their right mind would willingly go head-to-head with a forbidden spellcaster who burns through his own lifespan to cast devastating magic. It's not cowardice, it's self-preservation. Then comes the third round. Another challenger takes one look at the matchup and practically sighs in defeat. He curses his own misfortune under his breath, wondering what cruel fate decided to pair him against this walking disaster of a prodigy. Left with no real choice, He too raises his hand and surrenders. Another match ends without a clash. Another 10 points land in Yang's pocket. Even Yang is starting to get annoyed. His victories keep piling up, but the satisfaction is missing. He doesn't want to win by default. He wants to fight, but it seems that his reputation has spread so far and wide that his opponents have already made up their minds before stepping into the arena. With no battles, no resistance, and no challenge, Yang can only clench his jaw in quiet frustration. Yang leans back, arms crossed, as he reflects on the rounds ahead. He knows that if he wants to reach the finals and secure victory, he'll need to start relying more on his forbidden magic. At this point, it's the only way he'll get a proper challenge. Meanwhile, the other test takers gather in groups, whispering among themselves. They're all equally baffled. This guy, Yang, has only used one forbidden spell, and yet he's cruised through 3 rounds in a row. Some of them begin to wonder if the final test is even as hard as they thought. Another participant scoffs at the idea. He questions whether people really believe Yang is just lucking his way through. "You think full marks come from doing nothing?" he mutters, half irritated, half amazed. He and the others decide to shift their attention elsewhere, hoping to see a real battle between other test takers. That's when the match between Wang, wielding an iris sword at level 13, and Luo, a dragon shadow spear user at level 14, kicks off. Wang taunts his opponent, predicting that Luo's about to drop into the loser bracket. But Luo doesn't let it slide. He coldly replies that Wang doesn't even qualify to send him there. Even the spectators can sense the intensity. They glance back and forth, trying to keep track of what's happening, but Wang's speed is too much. His movements are a blur. Most of them admit that if they had to face either one of these two, they'd be taken down in seconds. Even some of the job changers among them start doubting their abilities. One of them quietly admits that the gap between him and the ones in that arena is just too wide. The examiners observe as well. The chief examiner turns to Principal Xiu, asking for her thoughts on who will win this match. Without hesitation, Xiu places her bet on Luo Jun. She seems confident in her judgment, and she's proven right soon enough. Luo unleashes his technique, Shadow Cloud Pierce. The spear tears through the air, forming a devastating strike. Wang attempts to defend, but his sword shatters under the pressure. The outcome is clear. Back on the sidelines, Yang sits with a bored expression as his 5th round match is skipped entirely. Again, no one wants to face him, and the repetition is starting to wear him down. There's no excitement in one-sided victories. But then his gaze shifts to another match, Shen versus Zhuge and I. Finally, something that might hold his interest. On the field, Nini looks at Shen standing before her and frowns. She doesn't get it. Why would someone like him follow Yang? After thinking it over, she finally asks what Yang gave him to make him so loyal. Shen doesn't flinch. He simply tells her that Yang is his boss. According to him, one day when she truly understands who Yang is, she'll regret underestimating him. Nini grits her teeth, clearly annoyed by his stubborn loyalty. She has no interest in hearing more of it. With that, she launches into her attack, casting Phoenix Flame Explosion. Huge waves of fire race toward Shun in a brilliant, roaring burst. Shin instantly realizes the danger. The flames are fast, too fast. Her fire spells are cast instantly. Still, with a well-timed leap, he narrowly avoids the incoming wave. But he's far from safe. He knows he's at a disadvantage. He specializes in close-range combat, while Nini excels at long-range spells. It won't be easy to even get close to her, let alone land a hit. Nini prepares for another assault. She doesn't want to finish the match quickly. She wants to see how long he can keep dodging. The barrage continues, and Shin braces himself, trying to figure out how to close the distance before he's overwhelmed. The battle between Shun and Nini continues to escalate as a fiery tornado rises high into the air, spiraling toward Shun. With no way to dodge the raging flames, Shun makes a split-second decision. Instead of retreating, he draws on his remaining strength and unleashes his sword skill. Slash. His blade cuts through the tornado of fire in one swift, desperate strike. The flames part violently, and he lands on the ground, panting from the effort. Above, Nini hovers in the air, watching him with a sharp gaze. Shun, though clearly exhausted, declares that he's still ready to fight. Nini, unimpressed and slightly irritated, calls him an idiot and advises him once more to surrender. The air around her flares with red flames, rising with a thunderous surge as she prepares to attack again. Shun responds firmly, warning that those who underestimate him will suffer the consequences. But Nini sees only foolish pride in his words and dismisses it as overconfidence. Watching from the sidelines, Yang's brows furrow. He starts to get uneasy, especially seeing Shun in such a desperate situation. Among the observing teachers, Xiu calmly remarks suspects that Shun is going to lose. The chief examiner, alarmed by how far Shun is pushing himself, turns to the other examiners and urgently tells them to prepare to intervene and rescue him. The flames rise higher, roaring around Shun, but even amidst the blazing inferno, he doesn't back down. He remains standing, sword in hand, ready to push forward. This surprises Nini. She didn't expect him to last this long. Then, from within the burning flames, Shun emerges, singed and wounded, but resolute. He dashes forward and swings his sword at her, aiming deliberately. The blade cuts through the air and narrowly misses her face, grazing her hair instead. Nini gasps in shock. Shun doesn't apologize. He tells her this is a warning not to provoke his boss. She may challenge him, insult him, or fight him, but disrespecting Yang is where he draws the line. Moments later, Shun collapses to the ground. Yang immediately leaps from the stands and rushes to his side, shouting his name. The examiners call for the medics, who come running with equipment in hand. Before they can reach Shun, Yang kneels beside him, trying to use healing magic. His hands glow as he attempts to stabilize him, calling out for Shun to hold on. He places the yin-yang bangle over Shun's chest to protect his heart and continues pouring energy into the spell. Standing nearby, Nini watches the scene with conflicted eyes. Guilt starts to creep into her expression. She didn't mean to take things that far. She didn't know Shin would push himself to such extremes. Yang, while still focused on healing, looks up at her and quietly says that he understands. He knows it wasn't her intention to harm him so severely. When the medics arrive, they assess Shun and inform Yang that his life isn't in immediate danger, but his body has suffered severe burns. He'll need to be taken to the hospital right away. As they lift him onto a stretcher, Shun weakly turns to Yang and urges him to give it everything he's got. Yang nods, giving him a gentle pat and commending him for fighting so well. "You did more than enough," he says softly. With Shun taken away for emergency treatment, the quarterfinals are now set to begin. Zhuge Nini, visibly shaken yet regaining her composure, prepares for her next match, one that will pit her against a powerful and mysterious opponent. Yang, meanwhile, will face Luo Xun, the dragon shadow spear wielder who broke his last opponent's sword with a single move. From this point on, the test reaches its climax. The four most dangerous candidates are now standing across each other. Everyone present knows the truth. The top scorer of this year's final test will be decided between them. The entire arena goes quiet. No one wants to miss a second of what happens next.